Yo, yo, yo. DPS podcast, that's Damage Per Second podcast. We are back, episode 214. On a fine Thursday night, feeling all right. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Gaming Forte. What's up, Forte?
What up, though? Episode 214. That's a great number. That's like Valentine's Day number if you think about it. It's Valentine's Day is tomorrow.
It actually is. So if you do celebrate this that hell of a holiday, do make sure to have a good time and be responsible. Do what you gotta do.
Why is it gotta be a hell of a
you know what that whole holiday's about. It ain't about you or me.
It definitely ain't about you or me.
Yeah, it also ain't about her either. It's about making money. So, babe, but we ain't gonna get it.
It's the made up holiday that generates more money than other holiday.
Exactly right. So we may have a guest coming through with us. Mr. Game Logic may be arriving sometime soon. Actually, there he is right there. What's up, Logic? How's it going?
What's going on, y'all?
Doing good. Can you say something again? I thought you came in a little low.
Yeah, certainly. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can. I just think, I don't know, Forte, actually I have you up pretty high already. I'll leave it alone on my side, but you may want to bring yourself up just to like your gain up just a little bit. But good to have you, sir. Glad to have you here. We just a little bit of spring cleaning real quick. We did miss last week. I apologize. I was a bit sick. I was on my deathbed all the last week. I'm doing a lot better now. I'm not like fully healthy, but I'm making my way back. But we apologize for missing the week, but it couldn't be helped. Had to be done. Since we doing these intros here, Game Logic, how's it going, man? How you been?
I've been good. We got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm hoping we can all still be friends after the show.
Oh man, are you? Oh, I like this. It's about to be a little slanderous tonight. I appreciate it. Forte, how you been, bro? Forte? Your man started laughing and then he just disappeared on us. Okay. While Forte gets his mic sorted out, I guess we can get into
I'm here. I was talking and I just realized I was muted. I laughed and I'm muted. So So I've been great. I missed you, for an entire week. And
I don't feel the love. I don't think you're really missing me. Nah.
Oh, I did miss you.
Just saying that.
No. I mean, sometimes you got to tell people things that they need to hear so they can actually, feel great about themselves. And you should always. So
it's what I thought. You just making it up. It's fine.
No, it's no. Listen, I've been great. Fly Eagles fly.
Oh, what? Stop it!
I had a great. Hey, listen, my week was great. It was really good. Outside of all the other crazy stuff, but no, just been great. Got a chance to play some games. A game that we're going to talk about here, Avowed. Got a chance to play that, so got some stuff to talk about on that one. And then outside of that, just enjoying the amazing time that the amazing Eagles gave me over the weekend. That was great. I appreciated that so much.
Are you a Eagles fan now?
No.
Is that what you're doing? You're jumping to another bandwagon? Is that what's happening?
No, Patriots still all day, every day. Patriots still.
So now it's Patriots. Okay.
It's always been Patriots. Patriots has never came off the docket.
I thought it was Detroit.
I live in Detroit, sir. So I root for them by proxy. I'm not. Hey, listen, I'll tell you when. Listen, the Lions. I will not claim the Lions if they win the Super Bowl. I will just I would just root and be like, yeah, Detroit, because I live here. I'll be happy for the people here that's been rooting for them their entire lives. But I wouldn't claim that.
That's a lie, Cap. That's a lie, Cap. That's a big cap, man.
I wouldn't.
That's a big cap.
I can't claim them because I haven't been a fan of them in like 20 years. I've been just a fan by proxy. That's it.
Okay.
Just telling the truth.
Yeah. Logic, did I ask you how you been? I can't remember.
I think you did.
All the Cap Forte just did have me have a little memory wipe there.
Yeah, you did.
All right.
You did. I'm gonna. So I turn my.
Watching this gameplays getting me go to sleep.
There's a little thing going on in Mac OS that I just tweaked. So I turn my gain down on the mixer. And I'm turning it back up slowly just so I wouldn't come in blasting.
You are louder now,
great.
though.
You sound great.
You sound much better now. Yeah.
Okay. Should I leave it there or should I boost it a little bit more?
You're good. You're good where you are right now.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good. I didn't want to step into that because, like I said, what's up?
No, I think you did. Just I don't know. Forte, did he just blow your ear out?
Was it too loud?
No,
I don't know. Me.
I tweaked it back down.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It may have been just on my side, but I
got loud
think
for a second, but I wouldn't say he blew my back out. I'm not.
Okay. Whoa, bruh.
That's what he said. He said
I said ear. What is wrong with you?
Come on,
ear,
man.
backside.
No.
How is your ear and your back anywhere near? They don't sound the same, and they're nowhere near anatomy wise in the same place. You just being messy today, sir.
It just depends if you put your head down in that direction. It kind of does.
See, no.
All right, so
I was trying to back you up on the football topic.
We just move on.
Yeah, exactly.
We just gonna move on.
Can. No, listen. You can back me up because we understand why these dudes, this guy and his other friend Enrique don't want to acknowledge the Eagles because of where they're from. But it is what it is.
How you no?
He's all over the place right now.
Yeah. I thought he was about to throw shade because you and I are GPU brothers, but.
No, I'm done with that. I've been gave up on the whole GPU thing. You guys can, waste money if y'all want to by buying what I don't even want to get into it no more.
Yeah, don't. You shouldn't. So
it's called pocket watching, and I don't do that.
Let's get into what we are playing. And Logic, why don't you go ahead first, man?
So y'all know, it was double XP weekend. So Forte didn't know, by the way.
Forte did know because Forte was one of those people that saw that there was a lot of people that couldn't partake in double XP weekend for reasons.
True. Although double XP weekend was extended due to that. So I'm not mad at it.
They still missed out though.
True. Look, yeah, but I'm on PC, so I just benefit from all.
Facts.
Console players have to deal with all these discrepancies and deficiencies, so that's a choice. That's a life choice. You can choose to wait in line. Y'all know the saying: "Hamp don't wait in lines."
Hamp don't wait in lines.
So obviously I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty, having a lot of fun. I actually went, in addition to Double XP weekend, went back and played some Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Just on a whim. I pulled it down. Pulling down an old version of Call of Duty is no small thing because it's still hundreds of gigabytes to pull it down. But I did that and reinstalled it and went to play some multiplayer. And yeah, you don't have battle passes. But I was really surprised that there's a lot of people still out there playing Black Ops Cold War. And I like the Black Ops Cold War maps, many of which have not been brought back into the Modern Warfare branches or this version of Cold War. So, in particular, what's the new yacht one is Lifeline? In Black Ops 6.
I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of a rope-a-dope with that because they showed that you were getting that map, and I thought, they're bringing Hijack back because of course I didn't remember the map names, so I was like, then I played it, and I was like, bruh, this is not that old yacht map. So Hijacked is still on. So a lot of maps that I really liked are back on Black Ops Cold War. So it was fun. Like I said, I was very surprised. I've always been surprised whenever I go back to a past version of Call of Duty and find people are still playing it. I mean, this isn't even Modern Warfare 3, which was last year's. This is a game that's 4 years old. That people are still out there playing multiplayer.
Did you run into any cheaters? Because I heard like once they kind of get a good like 2 years removed, they stop really caring to try to stop the cheaters, and it gets a little outrageous.
Yeah, I didn't run into anything too bad. I did see one dude that did that typical, like, looking at where I'm coming from, when I could tell from the angle he's looking at, there's no way that he actually saw me, but then chuck a perfectly timed like grenade or something right before I actually came into his line of sight. So I saw that, but that happens on Black Ops 6 too, right? So yeah, I did see that, but it was still fun. I still had a good time. I have been playing Trackmania, so that is another game that came out. That version of that game, I think, came out like 4 years ago, and Ubisoft launched it as a games as a live service version of Trackmania. Trackmania had been out like in dozens of iterations in years before, but that year they switched it to live service, and the deal was if you like, there's a ton of content you get out of the baseline without ever like signing up for the yearly pass. So if you want that content, it's there. You don't have to pay anything extra. I went ahead and paid the $20 for the year. I was like, it's the beginning of the year. There's going to be all this content that comes out seasonally this year. But it was also too messy to try and sort through the list and figure out like what was free and what was available. And I spent about 5 minutes on it, and I was like, $20 is not worth my time. I'll just pay the $20 so I can just pay whatever I want and not have to worry about it. And then the last thing, talking about things that cost way more money than they should, I had the Crew Motorfest on console, I think on Xbox. And so since I got rid of my consoles, of course I have this list of games, particularly for 2024, that I just need to reacquire. And so this week, it was late at night. I was starting to game late. I was on a box where I don't have Call of Duty. And I was like, let me just grab the Crew Motorfest, which on the Ubisoft storefront is still a $70 game, even though it came out 2 years ago. I also realized that's the way a lot of companies are still pulling revenue for older games, is they just don't put them on. I mean, they go on sale, but if you're just going out to get a game and you don't want to be bothered with waiting for a sale, they just leave the games at MSRP like forever. But I did pull that down. It's a fun game. It is very much Forza Horizon regurgitated. But it's still fun. I don't like, the one aspect I don't like is, unlike Forza Horizon and some games like it that have come before, you can't turn off people appearing in your game, even if they just show up as cars that immediately turn into ghosts, so you can never run into them. But you do see performance blips, like when the game is trying to contend with latency and people like zooming by you. So that's aggravating. I wish there was just a way to just turn the external world off and play locally. But it's a fun game. It's again, that example that I always call out of how Ubisoft, despite all of its negative reputation and all the flack people give it, I'm always amazed by how Ubisoft continues to support games well after their launch, and still builds these vibrant communities around them. Like what was the game they recently pulled on XDefiant, but they're still supporting Skull and Bones. I mean, to me, you can say whatever you want about Ubisoft, but to me, the loyalty that Ubisoft shows to certain communities, and in fact, the vast majority of them, right? It's really not that many games that they pull down like they did XDefiant. To me is really pretty amazing.
Well, they pulled that game down because it's in a genre that's super saturated. So, I mean,
I also think the cost of XDefiant to maintain it played a part in it, because you notice once they said they canceled XDefiant, they shut down like 2 or 3 studios. So and these were studios. A lot of their studios at Ubisoft wear a lot of different hats. A lot of them are support studios on multiple games. So if one studio said, "Oh well, if a game gets canceled," it's not like that studio out in Budapest is like completely out of any projects. They're working on other things. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of those studios that were working on X Defiant were just working on X Defiant and nothing else. And so you got big studios, you got multiple ones of them, all trying to consistently keep up with content at a similar cadence of Call of Duty, and it's that's hard to maintain, and then you kind of get the situation you got where they ended up just dropping them, unfortunately. But my bad. Go ahead.
Nope, that's it. That's all I've been playing.
Cool. Forte, you should been playing, man.
Avowed. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and college football. I still play that every day. But Avowed, college football. I was playing a little bit of Callisto Protocol, and I'm still playing that on PlayStation, little by little, going through it. And and then I did do. I jumped back into the rabbit hole. Me and Destiny became friends again, so I started playing that again because the new episode came out, which is really good. So my 7-month hiatus from that game.
You and who became friends again?
Me and that game became friends again. I love
that. What game is that?
I said Destiny. Me and Destiny became friends again. So that expansion, I mean, that episode is really, really good. The dungeon was really, really cool. So I'm in the process of like trying to get my characters back to back to something, because right now I'm like woefully behind in it. So I'm not playing it every day. It's just kind of, piecemealing it because I don't want to get like drawn all the way back in. But I definitely needed that break away from it, because a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing in the game now is like really, really cool. And I don't know if I would have appreciated any of this stuff if I was like no life in the game like I was before. It would kind of just all feel the same still. So like the direction they're going in that. But that's kind of only thing I've been doing as of recent up to this point. What about you, SloMo? What you been playing other than Cyberpunk and Marvel Legends, Marvel Rivals?
Well, let me speak on Cyberpunk real quick. So I've been trying to break the game. I've been trying to basically, and this footage isn't that. I'll show some footage of it in a minute. But I've been trying to try out different builds, essentially like in-game kind of stuff where you are like, you know how Cyberpunk has that star system, kind of like Grand Theft Auto. Mm-hmm. Where once you hit 5 stars, it's like now they're sending an entire army at you, right? The National Guard. But in Cyberpunk, they're sending Max Tac after you. Max Tac is like this elite unit of cyber psychos that are sent in to take out cyber psychos. Essentially, they're pretty badass. They're pretty nasty, and they usually have like the same level of cyberware that you do or more, and in addition to like all the other like NCPD police officers and SWAT teams that they send in after you and stuff. So I've been trying to make it so that I can survive as long as I want, and I'm pretty much kind of achieved it. I'll run away just when I get bored and then like make them chase me, but other than that, like when they start sending the units in, I'm just mopping them and keeping it going. But I've been doing that, been messing around, trying to get all of my newer characters to end game where I've got the correct dialogue choices set up with Johnny Silverhand so I can do the secret ending. So I'm real close to that. I've been playing more of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm in chapter 7 right now. I do kind of wish there were more mods available for the game right now. Most of the mods that are available on PC. And again, I beat this game on PS5 already, so I don't really care. I'll mod it all the heck up. But most of the mods that are available right now are dedicated to fixing this highly unoptimized port. So it isn't too much of the fun stuff in there right now, unfortunately. Right. But I got a couple of mods in there right now, nothing serious, but I kind of wish there was more. And the last thing that I did excuse me, I beat a game already. It took a while. It is like the longest it's taken me in a year to beat a game. But I beat a game. I beat Life is Strange Double Exposure. And, I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with this franchise for a minute now. And I always kind of felt like they start off strong and then kind of end on a bad note to me. Like, I feel like the writing just falls apart in the final episode or two. And now that Don't Nod doesn't make those games anymore, it's now Deck 9 who has taken over, and Deck 9 did like the prequel, and then they did the most recent one before this one, which was True Colors. But this one is especially bad. And I understand they tried to do some things a little different with this one, try to kind of like expand the universe out a bit, but there's just so many plot holes in the story, so many poorly constructed characters, and it's just really sad that I feel like they kind of just went in for a cash grab by bringing back the series' most popular character, Max, and brought that character into this game where it just seemed like this was really just trying to dog whistle to a certain community that has a affinity for a certain kind of content. And the previous game seemed to try to be balanced and allowing the player to choose how they would like the storylines and the romances to go and things like that of that kind of nature. And they just seem to kind of really lean into a particular community that I would say that they did that a disservice with the way the story is told. Like if you were there for that, you didn't really get what you were looking for, I think. So, since that game launched, Deck 9 has seen a lot of layoffs, and I'm thinking probably more than likely Square Enix isn't going to continue on with this franchise with the last two games bombing the way they did. So unfortunate, but it is what it is.
That sucks.
Right. But I hope that the people who are moving on get to do something else that they're passionate about. It's just that this game is just not going to work. Unfortunately, it's not going to be what people hope it is. So anyway, you guys ready to get into some of these rapid fire topics before we get into the bang ones?
Yes, sir.
All right. So rapid fire topic number 1. Ready at Dawn co-founder Andrea Pacini says that the game development of The Order 1886 took a bad turn after Shuei Yoshida was promoted and was no longer had a hands-on approach to the game's development. He said that the game's failure in Sony's eyes had more to do with its critical reception and not the sales, and also that there were a lot of little details narrative-wise, as well as other aspects of, like, say, boss fights that kind of turned into QTE events that had to be done in order to kind of cut down on the time, because they ran out of time, unfortunately. So, Forte, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that? That, Ready at Dawn no longer exists now. The developer's gone. But the co-founder talking about why The Order 1886 never got a sequel.
Man, that's crazy when you sit there and you think about it, because I remember the one thing that was one of the talking points about the game was like how a lot of the boss fights were QTE events and everything, but it was still well done. Like, for me, I really enjoyed that game. Like, that game still holds up today on console and stuff. When PS4, it looked incredible. The Victorian era, I really enjoyed everything that was going on there. But the one thing that Sony, we always talk about, Sony really doesn't, if it doesn't sell a certain amount, they really don't even look at it for sequels and stuff. But it's also kind of interesting when you think about how they just did a remaster for Days Gone, and wouldn't even think that would happen, because I always looked at the reason you would bring a remaster or something is if you have the idea that you might be thinking about revisiting that franchise with a sequel or something, and you kind of just want to gauge your player base to see if there's something that they may be interested in.
Hey, Forte, give me. Keep going. When you're done, Logic, if you could jump in real quick, I gotta handle something with the kid real quick.
Yeah, he gotta go. He gotta go whoop somebody. I got you. But you gotta go whoop him. But no, that's kind of what I think. I think in general, it ultimately comes back to Sony is still making decisions when it comes to like their portfolio and the games that's coming out on it and everything. The fact that Radiant Dawn isn't around anymore kind of lets you know how they kind of felt about, the studio in that part. They, underperformed in a bunch of different aspects and everything like that. But for the most part, I always felt like that game should have got an extra shake, because I felt like story-wise it was well done, graphically it was well done, and if we're going off of this report from the co-founder saying that the reason a lot of the stuff that was kind of missing that people kind of complained about was cut short due to the development timeline, I definitely would have liked to see them get a little bit more time. If they could have fleshed out like boss battles and everything like that to be able to, facilitate a game that is more feature complete than it was at the launch of it. But I do think they did a great job with it up until that start. But we also know that not all games kind of land with gamers and things like that. So it just really comes back to what Sony is looking for. And as of right now, it looks like they're not looking for a game like Order 1886. What about you, Logic? What you think?
It's an interesting visitation of causality. I mean, a lot of what Pacino lays at the feet of the problem and the friction was due to new people coming in, and so at PlayStation, you have account managers who have these relationships with developers, and that relationship can be anything from something more organic and native, like is being described here, where Shuhei was heavily involved in the development, to just more of a hands-off, like you can do this, you can do that, if you want us to publish your game, and like these are the business models we expect you to align to, and yada yada yada.
Right.
So I mean, what he talks about here is that Shuhei getting promoted and being moved off. When he moved off, he took a lot of his team with him. Mm-hmm. And they were also all shuffled upwards. And so then new people came in. So I guess I'm about a 50-50 on this, like where that blame really lies. I deal with a lot of similar dynamics in my space where, and in fact, I'm dealing with that right now, right? Where the program manager for the organization that let the contract just got changed. And so his deputy is now in his place, and her priorities and her sensitivities about things are different. In addition to that, the entire environment around her has changed because the contract has shifted offices that are responsible for the contract, and they have so that's a thing, and it happens, and there's very similar arrangements in the gaming space. When that goes south, it's a turkey shoot as to who's really to blame. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, you could put a lot of blame at the foot of PlayStation. In my realm, I can also put a lot of blame on the subcontractor, right? As far as it's on you to instill first of all, to maintain enough control from your own perspective to be in the driver's seat. And so when a shuffle like that happens, to have it not impact you. Right. I could definitely look at the way this is written up and say, well, I mean, you guys were leaning on Shuhei to like be hands-on and make a lot of the decisions. Maybe that was a problem because you shouldn't have assumed that guy was going to be there forever. and therefore, him being hands-on was by virtue, simply by luck of the fact that he had a software development background, right? Like the assumption should be, hey, the next person who comes in, should somebody shift, and you're talking about a 4-year development pipeline, right? Highly unlikely the single person's going to stay in that seat, that the next person who comes in isn't going to be a software developer. So, I mean, and in fact, and again, this is near and dear to my heart, because literally today, and I feel a little bad, but literally today, I chewed a few of my team leads out because we went into a meeting and I felt they were unprepared. And I'm like, you guys need to understand that I'm training you and coaching you so that you can be me when I'm not here. And if I have to be prepared going into a meeting, and I have to know the material and the dynamics and the purpose of the intent left and right. Like the fact that you guys missed an email and didn't keep up with the message traffic and the team's message, like that's a problem, because now I don't trust that you guys can be a substitute for me in my absence, right? So you can put things on the other side, but there's some incumbent responsibility on their side as well. So, I mean, it's tough for me to make a firm call where I land on like who was really at fault, just from this write-up. I think I'll always lean towards, he who hath the most salt tends to be the one who maybe had a little bit of the blame, and that they're out there getting out there putting that blame on other people. So, but at the end of the day, like the Order 1886, kind of like you mentioned, Forte, like it had so much potential, and in fact, it still resonates with some people. It's actually kind of funny when
still looks good visually, considering it's 11 years old.
Yeah,
like the way that game looked back then, it still looks fantastic. A lot of the techniques that Ready at Dawn deployed at that time weren't being used by anyone else, but you kind of see they kind of like pioneered a different level of visual fidelity for the industry. So they were doing some pretty advanced stuff. It's just can't be the end all be all. There are other things there that needed to happen that didn't, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny in terms of current chronology, right? In that I would say that we had 2 games that similar criticisms get levied against last year. From Xbox with Hellblade 2 and Indiana Jones, and I'm not saying those things are valid, and I'm also not saying that the games are comparative. I'm saying that criticisms, right, like we're in the same kind of territory. But I would say the same thing that the games got praised for, right? Hellblade 2, like high visual fidelity, right? Indiana Jones, also a good looking game. That in some cases both of those games didn't land on the square with people who were looking for high fidelity game mechanics. So it's a choice. And I don't know that it's oriented around whether it's Xbox or PlayStation, right? It's just that there are some games that wind up coming in at 49%, right, for what people are looking for gameplay, although they may be visually spectacular.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, yeah. I think that sometimes, and I've seen this happen before, where things are in a state of flux, and I'm not saying that what Andrea here is saying is the gospel or anything, but I've seen things like that happen before, and maybe the producer that took over for Shuhei would have a whole different story. It was like, look, man, Shuhei gave me the rundown with these guys. I was on it, but they didn't take me seriously, and they thought they knew better. And Shuhei had his thumb, his finger on the pulse, and they tried to get one over on the brother. I don't know, but like when it comes to, I've seen transitions happen that aren't smooth. I've seen that kind of like when someone gets promoted or moves on, and the person that goes in to replace them just doesn't have either the same eye for detail, or their style of handling things is just a bit different, and it doesn't really quite jive with the people that they're working with. It's always an uncomfortable period, but it's gotta happen, and people gotta suck it up and get with it. You have a product to put out, you have a project to get completed, not liking the guy that is now working in place of the previous guy, or vice versa, or being overwhelmed with a new role that you got thrown into because the previous person got promoted. There's just no excuses. There's no hey, I was new to this or anything. No, suck it up and get the work done. And unfortunately, that just didn't happen. And I think that some of the things that he said he wished they could do for the Order 1886, I wish that would have turned out the way it wanted. But I do agree with him in terms of how Sony tends to approach what is a success and what's not a success. If you, before I had to step away, Forte, you had mentioned Days Gone. Mm-hmm. And if you recall, Days Gone director said a very similar thing that what Andrea said about critical reception and critical acclaim. If that isn't there, Sony is far less likely to pursue a sequel or continue on with a particular IP. It's not really as much as a sales issue because, look, they're going to do more Astrobot games, but Astrobot has sold less than 2 million, copies reportedly as far as we know. That's not a massive seller, but what did Astrobot have that other games that are also not a huge seller for PlayStation first party didn't have? A game of the year a win and a 90 plus Metacritic rating. So those things are important to them to a degree, so much so that it becomes an image thing.
That game has huge brand recognition with them too.
Yeah. So it's just like when you have a brand new IP, no matter how much potential it has, it just seems less likely that Sony, despite the potential, is going to go forward with it if, one, it doesn't sell great, which it didn't, and two, it's got like a 60 Metacritic score.
Right.
That's just a kiss of death for them. But let's go hit up this the second topic here of our rapid fire topics. Not rapid firing at all, but like sniper shots here. Bold action sniper shots here.
50 count shots. Let's go.
Right. Andrew Wilson, EA CEO, recently said to investors, this may be a bit of an argument here, recently said to the investors about Dragon Age the Veilguard's game development that he suggested that they should have gone with a live service format for Dragon Age the Veilguard in light of its commercial failure.
You freaking idiot.
Yeah, let me just say something real quick. Let me just say something real quick,
I don't even
okay?
know what I want to say, but go ahead. Go ahead.
It's funny that Andrew Wilson has this thought because if you look at the comments by former Dragon Age director who left, Mike Laidlaw, who's been on Enrique's show, Brat, before in the past. And you also look at former lead writer David Gator of Dragon Age. Both of them were highly critical of these comments. Interesting, so much so with Mike Laidlaw, who said that if someone had suggested to me that a traditional single-player RPG should be turned into a live service game, I would quit. And it was funny that he said that because that's exactly what he did as director. He quit when they made that suggestion, and not just a suggestion, that was the direction of the game for years before EA pivoted yet again and had the game rebooted yet again to go be the single player game that it should have been, but they only gave it about 3 years of development. So out of all of that, you then come out your mouth and say, you know what, we should have just stuck to live service. maybe you should have been meddling in the first place. Maybe that's what the lesson should have been, instead of thinking that you were right all along when you didn't give them the time or resources to do it properly after you meddled in the first place. Maybe that's the lesson you should have learned, Andrew, but whatever, right? These guys never seem to like get this figured out. It does not shock me at all that Respawn Entertainment continues to be successful, and they have been successful despite EA, because it seems Vince Abella is on the board. He has never had to deal with the kind of interference or shenanigans that other EA developers had to deal with EA executives. He has never had to be forced to use Frostbite engine for any of his games, and he's never had to deal with their ridiculous pushback on single player titles. And look at that success. So Logic, what are your thoughts about Andrew Wilson's comments here?
I'm gonna stick my toe in the door. SloMo, I didn't want to interrupt you when you transitioned. I do want to say one thing about the first story.
Okay.
Just to wrap that up. In Pasito's comments, he mentions this thing about like with the new regime constantly getting into fights over contracts. What I definitely sense from that, and this is my one warning for people who are in this lane, what I definitely sense from that is Shuhei, who's a creative type, highly likely that he was like, the contract says whatever the contract says, we need to focus on making a great game, right? But the next regime that comes in says, oh, no. The contract says your requirements are this, and this. That's what you need to do. And so one of the things I always caution, and I always play ball myself this way, is when you have casual oversight that says, don't worry about the contract, like that should set off a red flag. You cannot do that because of this exact thing. Because the next person that comes in may verily hold you to that contract. And so, to me, what you always have to do is when I get like a casual overseer, I have to say, look, bro, like I appreciate it. Like it's awesome that like you don't want to hold us to it, but I got to protect myself and my company, right? And we got to deliver on what the requirements are. So that's just my little aside there.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Wilson is Andrew Wilson, right? Whoever is in the seat at EA has always been and will always be a person who has to take this kind of direction, right? That is EA's corporate esprit about what it is they need to do in the marketplace. And this goes back like decades and decades, right? To them saying that we're never going to make a game that doesn't have a multiplayer component because that just wouldn't make any sense. To fast forward to everything that we have to do has to be live service. Fast forward to walking that back because Respawn comes out with Jedi
Fallen Order.
With Fallen Order, right? But then Respawn comes right back out with Apex Legends, right? So it's always this back and forth. They always go back to right, and then you mix in things like then backing Joseph Fares' company. I think we talked on the show at one point. We can never remember the name of it, but like the little indie game about like the girl on the boat, like facing her fears, and that being an allegory to dealing with anxiety and depression. I can't remember what the game is called. I want to say the creator.
Deep something. I don't know. Yeah, we never remember that game's name. I know you're talking about that. Yeah,
we always remember the game. We could never remember the name. And I think it's a French creator, or maybe she's Canadian, but French speaking. But like in things like Entangled, right? But then they always come back to this. And the one
Unraveled, you mean?
Yes, Unraveled. Yes. And I want to say. The plus.
Thank you, Chip. Sea of Solitude. That was the name of the game.
Yes. Yeah. What always buffers them from being the Activision and being the totally toxic Bobby Kotick, type of regime is those things, right? Is that despite like the Ultimate Team stuff and the like, just money grubbing monetization, and it also holds them in a better light in some ways than Take-Two. Is those things that they continue to do that feel artistically contributory, right? The smaller games, the Unraveled, the Tale of Two Brothers or whatever, like they still do that stuff. But at the end of the day, right, they're always backed by this evil regime, at Andrew Wilson's feet. So I don't know that there'll ever be anything different. To me, that is who EA is. So,
They're evil corp. Like, you ever see Mr. Robot?
I haven't seen it, but I have lots of friends who were big fans of that show. But yeah, I get what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think they were called E Corp, but everyone knew it meant Evil Corp. That's what. Every time I've watched that show. That's what they remind me of EA for various obvious reasons. But Forte, what are your thoughts about Andrew the Devil Wilson's comments there?
I mean, it makes sense. It's EA. It's all about that bottom line. I mean, every corporation is about the bottom line, but I feel like in general, it's just more of a thing when it comes to like the direction that EA, and I feel like in general, EA, if they can make every game a games as a service under their portfolio, they will. I'm surprised. That was part of the reason why development on the game, it went through so many different iterations of what that game could be to be what it is to this moment. So I know a lot of people did enjoy the game, but I also know a lot of people can feel like there were certain things that were kind of missing due to like the back and forth and the whole development timeline. But ever since like FIFA and Ultimate Team for Madden and now college football, it's like that's literally the only thing that they kind of focus on at this point. It's like the overall design of the game is like kind of secondary, not for the developers. I think they still put a lot of effort into that. I just think at the corporate level or the C-suite level, it's just a completely different mindset. So it makes sense, but in general, what did we expect from a company that was like voted worst video game publisher multiple years running? Not this last time.
No, actually, no, you had it right the first time. That award they got, that I'm pretty sure they aren't proud of, was about company period. It wasn't just video games, because they were up against like Walmart, and they were up against some real trash bag companies in America. So good for them, for getting exactly the kind of recognition they deserve, I guess. Last rapid fire topic before we get into the mains. Nintendo Switch has now sold over 150 million units as of December 2024. So they are, approximately 10 million units behind having the most sold console hardware ever in video game history, behind the PlayStation 2. Forte, any thoughts on that?
It'll pass at some point. It'll pass. They're not going to stop selling Switches. I like how PlayStation came out and moved that number 4 million higher, like over the course of the last 6 months when they saw that possibility was a thing. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be another generation before it does, though. So, I expect it to happen at some point.
Okay, Logic, any thoughts on that? Did we lose Logic?
No.
Okay,
I'm
here we go.
Not anything. I mean, it's good. Look, I'm happy to see things do well and be successful. I'm always especially happy, as a lofty term, but as a gaming industry historian, I don't know, just like in terms of my interest area. Not saying I'm like an authority on the topic, but just like that's what I study. That's what I'm interested in. It's always interesting to see the page turn, right? I didn't want to see the same console SKU be the top selling console like forever. So it's interesting to see that this page is turning, and that it's based on entirely different merits than the last thing got to that position, appealing to an entirely different demographic. So which says a statement about how the industry is changing, right? Much more so in terms of objective evidentiary trend analysis than what a lot of the pundits run around and say.
Yeah, I agree. I guess find it fascinating that at a time where we continue to hear people say things like consoles are irrelevant or consoles are dying, or consoles will be dead in 10 years, we get a console product that is about to be the most sold console in history at some point, probably this year. Like more than likely, as I don't anticipate Nintendo will stop selling the original Switch once the new Switch releases. And that those numbers were from December of 2024. So here we are, like a month and a half later. Like, they're higher now than they were then. So who knows exactly how close they are exactly. So, it's just interesting, I find how the industry is moving to be a fascinating thing. And I do think that Nintendo's success with this will be influential in how both Sony and Microsoft choose to go forward and in some of their hardware choices and their hardware SKUs in the future too.
Look, man, in a year that we have new silicon launching from Nintendo, we just had a PlayStation State of Play that showed us 29 games. And don't worry, Forte, I'm gonna give you your chance for us to go at it. So we're gonna come back to that.
You talk about those 29 games
in a year where Xbox has a full slate for the first half of the year, which has not been true this entire generation. Right, of games that I have a high deal of confidence in. For certain people to be running around talking about the console industry is dying, everything's the old model, none of this matters anymore, hardware is incidental, that is entirely preposterous. And quite frankly, I'm just going to say, as of this week, is just downright disgusting in its level of pandering and its level of disingenuity.
Say it with your chest, bro. Say it with your chest.
Whole chest.
Every piece of your chest.
All right, let's do this. Let's get into these main topics here, and we don't have too many of them, but I do think that we will definitely have a lot of things to say about them. So, Avowed released in early access today. It has currently sorry, can I speak right now? Good grief. An 80 Metacritic score with around 60 reviews. Most reviews say it's good, but not a great RPG. And let's talk about our thoughts about this. But I think what's probably more important and Logic, forgive me if I'm wrong, you haven't played it yet, right?
Correct. Yep, correct.
Okay, correct. Yeah, like myself, I'm waiting until I'm gonna play it on BattleNet through Game Pass next week with its standard launch. But Forte was fortunate enough to play a review copy of the game. And Forte, won't you let us know your thoughts on the game?
Yes, the great Avowed. One of the funnest games I played in years. I feel like the direction, the art, well, first of all, let's start art style. Great, amazing. It's like the game's not an open world, but it's like, it's hub based, so it's like individual zones that you go to are like huge. The fact that they already talked about how parts of the game it's not bigger than the Outer Worlds or something like that, but it's on the same scale as it, and just the different environments. Really, really cool. I feel like the overall conversation narrative tree is probably one of the best I've ever played in a game so far up to this day. The only thing I can think that's probably even close to it would be like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Because I got a chance to play a little bit of that too. But just the overall breadth of just in the scope of conversation you can have in that game just reminded me of like traditional BioWare storytelling when it came to like Mass Effect. Okay,
do you mean in format of the narrative trees or in terms of quality of the writing?
No, both. The format was literally just like that. The format came straight out of it, felt like of a BioWare subject matter, but then the overall like storytelling was really, really cool. And then the way that I like that they have like based on the based on the character that you pick or the overall build you go with, because you can like spec it to different skill trees and everything. Like there's 5, I think there's 6 different ones you can spec into, and then you can respec it to them at any time. You just got to pay coin to actually do it. But I think in general, like being able to like have those different like certain conversation like narrative points will pop up, like if you're a Vanguard or something like that, it will pop up like how Mass Effect used to do with like the Renegade be like blue and red, and then it blue for Paragon, and you knew that those options were like those Sinisters or the more goody two shoe. They do it in this, but since there's so many different parallels in the conversation tree, there's way more ways you can like attack a conversation. Like you can be super genuine, you can be super brash, you can be irritable in a conversation. There you can really show your overall it's like you can show your range when it comes to like the way that your character is built when it comes to just the conversation and narrative trees that they have in the game. So I think that is like by far one of the best parts of the game. And I found myself, because normally in games like that, you listen to the conversation and the back and forth, you kind of just want to start skipping through it so you can get back to the mission. I found myself very, very enthralled in a lot of these conversations, especially like this in the gameplay that you're showing at the end. I was having a conversation with a lady. She was locked up, and just the overall reason of finding out why she was locked up and this back and forth, it was great. It was great. So I really, really give the conversation and just the narrative part of that a really, really good, really good score. They do have a wait mechanic in the game, which I do think is kind of hit or miss. Shout out to Attic. I was talking to him about it when it comes to
you said wait.
Like you're
okay, so you mean encumbrance?
Okay, yeah, encumbrance is a better word for it. Yeah. So okay. I was talking to Attic about this, and we kind of came to the same point where it kind of makes no sense, because the fact that you can like they give you the ability to like portal and fast travel to places all around once you get to like certain areas, you get these little bonfires that you can start up that are like fast travel points. And once you get like enough of those, being encumbered really doesn't matter, because you can go, there's like 5 or 6 of them in an area, so you can still get around areas. So it kind of makes like the encumbrance doesn't really do anything. Like it's only time it really affects you is when you're like moment to moment gameplay, when you're like walking around in like probably a smaller area in combat. But then when it gets to like going around the environments and everything, you could just fast travel places. So I think that is something that they probably just didn't really think a lot about when it comes to that, because you're not really punished for like carrying too much weight.
Now, real quick, Forte, how many hours in Avowed do you have so far?
I had 32.
Wow. And you haven't beat the game yet?
No.
Are you close? Or you think you're close?
I'm close. I'm very close. This is the thing about the game. I probably spent 10 hours, maybe 12 in the starting area, because I was like collecting a lot of stuff. I was doing a lot of the side quests. And the thing about this game is you really do get punished if you just stay on the main path, which some people probably will find as a nuisance, because it's really like you can go into certain areas and they have it like set up so like it's like I think they call it's like skulls and stuff. So like depending on what you're going against, you can see like, should I even be in this area? Should I even be doing this activity? And if you're in that activity, it's like sometimes you find yourself like, hey, I need to do a lot of side quests to even be able to be ready to do this. So I kind of over leveled in the beginning of it. I think I was like level 13 or level 14 in the beginning levels, where I know some people that was like going into like the third zone, like level 16, level 17, because they were kind of beelining the main story, doing it and everything. So
now a question about that, and maybe you would be speaking out of turn by answering this question, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. Do you think those people who were beelining the content were doing so because they were trying to rush through the game, or were they doing so because they were really enjoying the main story and didn't really find the side stuff appealing enough? What do you think the reasoning for that is?
I do think some of the side stuff is kind of, it's not the strongest. The side missions aren't the strongest. I will say that. I do feel like it's not like Witcher where you'll get some of the DLC is better than the base game. I mean, there are some missions.
I like your character's hair. Wow.
Oh, guess what? My daughter did that. My daughter made my character. I let.
Wow.
Yeah, so I let her.
She did a great job.
She did do a really good job.
No wonder it's so good, because I was more shocked that you made that.
No.
And now that I know it wasn't you, then that makes total sense. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you can actually see on the screen right here where it says like comments. You see how I have the might 2 out of 2 because I have my might is 2 out of 2 right now, and the higher your progression in those different levels are, the more conversations you'll open up. And I will say there are some things that you wish you actually had the ability to say because you just don't have like a high enough intellect or something like that to be able to.
Right. And that's typical Obsidian. Yeah, you know, like I remember playing the Outer Worlds, just real quick. And just it's so funny how you could make your intellect so low that when your character in the Outer Worlds would interact with computers, that you couldn't, you as a intelligent player couldn't read anything on the screen because your character was too dumb to be able to interpret it. So it would just be just like words, numbers, numbers. And you would have to just be randomly choosing things and hoping you got whatever you were looking for correct in order to kind of blunder your way through those things. And I always just thought that was hilarious at how Obsidian puts that level of detail into things. But my bad, go ahead, man.
No. Yeah. So in thinking about just that type of style of the game, I think that, like I said, the side quests, they're not like the greatest thing, but I think they're needed. And I do think if something can be done, I think in DLCs, because we know this game's going to have DLCs in the future. When that does happen, I do think that's probably something they should spend a little bit more time in crafting out, because I think the world is full of everything. Like when you walking through the environment, you'll get pulled in like 15 different directions, especially if you walk into big towns and people will tell you like, hey, I got something I need you to help me with, or just the typical conversations that happen when you're walking through a city, when you get a bunch of point of interests and stuff like that. And it does become overwhelming. So I can see a lot of people just skipping that, especially due to the fact that I know some people got their review code, a little late. They didn't get it like as early as like I was able to get this one. Like I got this like 2 weeks beforehand, which, really shows that they were really confident in the game. But I think people were still getting their review copies like up until the week of the game coming out. And I think those are the people probably that did kind of beeline the story, trying to get as much of it as possible as they can. With me, I just wanted to enjoy the story because it was my first time being able to like experience a game super early like this and having a chance to like have my own opinions about it before everybody else got a chance to have their opinions. And I will say a lot of my opinions do line up with some people's. I do think in general, the game is amazing. But like I said, the side quests kind of need to be better. I think, like I said, the encumber system could be a little bit more fleshed out to be a little bit more. I'm not saying it should be more punishing, but I mean, if you're going to have it in there, I feel like it should be a little bit more meaningful to the moment to moment combat outside of just fast traveling and stuff.
About the combat real quick, I saw a criticism that I can't speak on this because I haven't played the game yet. But
I'm gonna tell you. Yeah, go ahead. You got something that's want to say.
So you probably already know what I'm about to say, but I saw a criticism in regards to the combat about the weapons not being of the correct level or the level that you needed them to be at in order to accomplish the missions at hand. What are your thoughts about that?
There just the thing. There's weapons in the starting area when you're playing the game that you can literally, if you find them, you can use that for a good 10 to 15 hours into the game without it, just keep leveling that up. So it does come down to if you want to use the stuff that you find, like I like having range.
Can you level your weapons up?
Yeah, you basically craft better ones of that same weapon. So you find so I guess you would consider it leveling it up. But if you'll find like, twigs or string and stuff if you want like a better bow, and you can level it up once you get enough of that stuff. So the typical RPG stuff that they add in there. So you got to find those ingredients to be able to make your weapons and your armor and stuff better. Or you could just find armor. But there's, like I said, there's weapons in the environment that you can just pick up, and then you start doing massive damage to stuff, and you're like, yo, where did this weapon come from? And you'll use that until you find the next thing. So there's different ways to go on about it. So you can find, like I said, those I consider them hero weapons inside the world. But if you want to just take your favorite weapon, like I like to use the shield and the sword, and I like to use the bow for range. And I feel like that's the best thing. But then the magic in the game, if you use the wand, the magic is so overpowered if you level into it. So if you respect your character into a mage, you're doing massive damage to some of these enemies, which I do think is a way that a lot of people are going to go with that. But the best thing about the combat for me is I like the choice. Third person, I ended up, I
was about to ask you about that. Yeah, because go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in first person right now because when I captured this, it was at the beginning of the game, and I forgot all about third person in the game. And then I clicked in accidentally, fighting somebody on I think it's the left thumbstick. And it went into third person. And I was like, oh shoot, I forgot this game got third person. And let me tell you, I didn't even go back into first person after that. I stayed in third person.
Oh, so you prefer third person now as the preferred way to play the game?
Yeah, I do. I because like I'll put it like this: you're more intimate in your combat. You can feel the weight of weapons more, or it just seems like you can feel the weight of weapons more when you're in first person. But I like the ability because a lot of stuff attacks you in this game. You can get surrounded. So I like being in third person so I can see everything around.
You can see your, someone's trying to, hit you from the back.
Exactly. Yeah, from the back.
Yeah, I got you.
But even then, even when I tried to switch back to first person, just like running around in the overworld, I just preferred third person. So I can see a lot of people choosing to do third person depending on if you're one of those people that like A, likes to see your character, B, likes to be a little bit more intentional with your dodging and everything, because I do feel like dodging and evading is way better when you're in third person than it is in first. Not saying that you can't do it in first, it seems like your parrying and everything is a lot better in third person.
Yeah, okay. Another question I have, and then in logic, if you got any questions, please jump in as well. A question I have is in regards to within third person animations, because it's something that I've always kind of noticed in prior, not necessarily Obsidian games, but I will say this is something that I did notice in the Outer Worlds. But in most games that give you a choice between first and third person, it always seems to me as if one of those methods of perspective and combat is lacking, and it's typically the third person that is lacking, because third person has a completely very different set of tools that need to be deployed in order to make it feel authentic and real. Like you got to do motion matching in order to make the walking and turning animations look authentic, look like a real person moving around. You got to have the animations down to make your like dodging and parrying and the combat in general look and feel good. And a lot of those things aren't necessary in first person perspective because you're not seeing any of that. So a lot of games that that typically do first person perspective, they don't have the experience to flesh all that other stuff out because they're just not experienced with all those other things. So I say all that to say, how does that feel switching between both in Avowed? Is it done well for both, or is one better than the other?
No, I think it's done well in both. I think the one thing you'll really notice, I think the only thing I think that is kind of like when it comes to the animation is the evade animation, like dodging. When you dodge in first person, it looks like you're really just dodging, like you don't feel like you're like jumping across the screen. But when you're in third person, boy, that evade looks like something out of Returnal. It's like you invade, like it's like 10 feet almost how far you dodge out of the way, which to me, I don't mind because it feels like it speeds the combat up more. You know, depending on what kind of weapons you're using, it feels like you can get out and get right back into a fight really, really quick. And then due to like all of the different status effects you have, like being able to like freeze enemies in place with weeds and stuff with magic, or using your companion. And I think the companion tree is really, really well done when it comes to being able to like slow down the effects of combat. So they have abilities on your character where if you go into picking your abilities, like it does like the Mass Effect thing where you can like click it and it slows down gameplay. But you can also
it's like the weapon. It's a weapon wheel, but it's like in Mass Effect where you're kind of using it to give direction to your comrades of what to do, but you don't switch to those comrades and control them, or you don't have the option to. You're basically just kind of like directing, go here, go there, attack this person, use this specific attack, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Mike, yeah, like one of the companions that you get like pretty early in the game after you get past the first starting area, he has like a close range shotgun pellet spread, and he'll like it has like I think a 15 or 20 second cooldown on it, and whenever you use it, he'll like teleport right next to the enemy and blast it right in his face, and it staggers the enemy, so you can like get in with like a weapon or any type of heavy weapon and do like a lot of massive damage and everything to it. Also, it breaks down their guard, which every enemy has like a yellow bar, whereas once you hit that yellow bar and it staggers all the way to the top, it staggers them, and your character does like massive damage. You'll do like a combo to them that, depending on how strong your weapons are, you'll do a good 5 to 10% of their health in that in that salvo of abilities that you do. And then, like I said, as you level their character up and you do more abilities, not only does it slow down when you do your abilities, not your ability, it slows down when you do their abilities, but like everything is toggled to pretty much your D-pad. So holding buttons, buttons to trigger other events and everything. But I really, really like how they did the companion tree when it comes to that, because you can level them up, and it also gives you the ability to slow down time even further when it comes to that. Because right now, I think when you first start, it slows it down by like 10 to 15% when you want to do like battlefield assessments with your companion. I think the first upgrade takes it down to 50%. So like it really slows the game down. So it's a lot of good upgrades in there, but like I said, a lot of that stuff tied to certain trees, so you have to like spec it to those trees to get to it. And the cool thing is they don't restrict you from seeing all the trees at one time. It's not like you have to unspec from one tree to see another tree. You can go into any of the trees to see any of the abilities and make a decision like pretty early on if you like want to try this out, and then if you want to give this a go for like probably a good 10-15 hours, and then you can respec and go into another tree as you level up, because you can see the levels of everything too. So if you see that you're not going to be strong enough, or it's going to take you a while to get to a certain ability, you can kind of spec it to whatever's stronger to start out with. And then as you gain enough XP and enough points for your battle points to put into your character, you can like spec it to those things later on under a completely different tree. So they don't stop you
All right,
from
well-
seeing pretty much everything. So it's very, very like when it comes to accessibility, I think the game is freaking incredible. And I think that's why a lot of people like it, because you can just pick up the game and play it and really not think about it. And I think that's what was really good about the Outer Worlds too. Like, it was a really good game. Story was really, really good. Anybody can pick it up and play it. It just comes down to, do you like that type of gameplay? And this game is pretty much mirrored to that. But I feel like the overall conversations and the overall story, the environments, the companions and everything, I just think it's on a whole nother level from what they did in Outer Worlds.
Okay, so Outer Worlds ended up being, I think, an 85 Metacritic score. This is about 5 points lower. Do you think the Metacritic score is not representative of what the game is, considering you think it's a better game than Outer Worlds, but it's scored better so far?
Yeah,
scored worse so far.
Worse. No, I do think it's a better game. The thing about scores, they're all subjective to the person that's playing it and like what's going on around them at that time. Like, I know a lot of people, some of their scores might have been impacted for the fact that they didn't get in initially during that 2-week window. I know I watched Matty Play's video on it. He was a little bit, taken back by some of the game. He was kind of disappointed. He still liked the game, but he just wished they did a little bit more. But this is the thing. I think with this game, the 80, I don't disagree with it. I would probably say like an 83 or an 84, but I can see when once they start adding more things to the game, or even once the full game comes out and the day one patches come out that fixes some of like the little performance issues that people have. Like, you don't want to kill certain enemies, like how enemies have barriers and stuff. Like, there's an enemy in the game that doesn't go into water. So you could kind of kite him by water and he won't come after you. But we accidentally killed them in an area where the water was, and he fell, and he dropped a quest item that we couldn't pick up because it dropped.
I hate when that happens.
And he disappeared. And it happened a couple of different times in different instances. So, it kind of made us have to restart the checkpoint. Good thing it was only like a 10 to 15 minute difference between the checkpoint. And we went back and was able to do it. And, so it wasn't really a big thing, but I know if that happened to some people, it probably would like really piss them off, depending on if they were doing like a lot of saving and stuff like that. But all that stuff I think can definitely get fixed inside of patches and everything. But in general, I think the game is really, really good. It deserves the 80 that it's got, but I can also see that game sitting around an 83, 84, just because it's got a lower score than the Outer Worlds. I still think that this game kind of shines a lot brighter in certain instances than Outer Worlds did when it first came out too.
Cool. Okay. Appreciate your feedback, sir. Logic. What are your thoughts about Avowed? Are you going to play it when it anytime soon?
Probably not. Just because in my current mode, I am a live service shooter.
He's a live service junkie.
Person. Yeah. But my overall feeling of Obsidian, I've said this numerous times before, and I'll continue to say it. I think Obsidian was hands down the best pickup by Xbox, Microsoft, in its series of acquisitions. And I'll say, in terms of the reviews, I get the reviews are what they are, but I typically find that Obsidian punches above their weight, and whatever the review scores are, I have yet in a very long time to hear about an Obsidian game that isn't somehow a heartfelt favorite of fans, often considered, we have the whole thing of, how they made the best Fallout, right? Despite that they weren't the original ones. They have an incredible pedigree and back history and backstory. I used to play a lot of their games, from the Forgotten Realms franchise. So, I think it's fine. I think Avowed is what it is. It did what it's supposed to do. It was never going to move the needle and, garner new Game Pass subscribers. It's a thing that was there for, the Obsidian faithful, the people who are already on Game Pass. I don't think Xbox is particularly concerned about sales on that particular title. If they were, it would be on PlayStation. So, you know, I think it's
Might end up over
It
there
might end
anyway
up over
pretty
there
soon.
Well, I was being messy. I just tweeted out, you know, Avowed is not on PlayStation or Mac. Surprising that I don't hear a lot of people talking about games need to be on every platform on that topic. But you know, I think, you know, I love Obsidian. I love that they do what they do. I love their character, their backstory, their history. So you know, I think this is still what I would call a win for Obsidian. So yeah, sounds like it's I won't be jumping on it, you know, anytime soon. I'll probably pick it up like in a backlog thing or maybe at the end of the month. I don't know, but good game.
Yeah, for myself, as I said earlier, I'm going to jump on this next week when its standard release happens. It's a more traditional release day happens, and I'll get it in BattleNet while using Game Pass. I really enjoy Obsidian's work, and so I'm excited to play this game. I'm excited to get into it, you know, and see how it is. I still got a few games I want to finish first, but I probably will just start this one because I kind of figure I'm not going to finish Rebirth before this comes. This is available for me, but that's fine. I can play both at the same time. But Forte, appreciate your thoughts on the game so far, and definitely can't wait to hear what you guys say when you complete the game and your final thoughts on it, and the video on the channel at some point. Anyway, let's get into our second to last topic before we get into the state of play, which is that PlayStation sales seem to be doing pretty good. So we got some sales information about the Q3 of their current fiscal year, which was the holiday season of 2024. And Sony has announced that they shipped 9.5 million units during the holiday quarter. They've announced that 42% of the new PlayStation 5 owners who purchased a PlayStation 5 were new users to the PlayStation ecosystem and PSN in general. Their PSN monthly active users are up as well as high as it's been in the past 2 or 3 years. And so you know, Logic, I want to know what has contributed to this success despite not having really any first party titles released in that time period last year.
I'm trying to calm myself down and not be too messy.
Yeah, I was trying. So I was lobbing it up there for the mess, and you out here trying to calm me down. All right, go ahead.
Look, I mean, it's the brand, right? Like it's we've talked about this a little bit before. Like the market is bifurcated into essentially two halves right now for consoles. People who want the high end gaming experience that without spending the money that you would need to for a gaming PC, there's pretty much a singular option for you, and those people are going for PlayStation. And if you are, you know, if you put mobility as a high priority, if you're not worried about high graphical fidelity, if you're more in that genre of, and probably to like younger audiences, right? If you're an emerging gamer, people are going for the Nintendo Switch, and a big bunch of them own both. And you know, Xbox sales, you know, as I continue to iterate, are somewhere right on the edge of the 9.85% of the market. And so, I mean, what the market is saying is that for high-end gaming, for high-end console gaming, without jumping the shark and going PC, there is a singular choice, right, that they're making. The notion, even when we talk about the PS5 Pro, that you can build your $700 PC, complete hogwash. And even to the shameful point where, in my opinion, respectable PC hardware YouTubers were running around with that same mantra, and it was just disgusting. I mean, they were saying for $700 you could buy a PC made of parts that are already obsolete and that by definition mean that when you need to upgrade, which will happen in about 2 years because you're already behind the performance curve, you're going to need to you're going to need to invest in a new motherboard with a new socket, with a new CPU, with new RAM. Like that, defeating the entire purpose, right? The disingenuity in that was you're telling people to invest $700 in a box that in 2 years' time, they're going to have to spend $1,000 to $1,500 to upgrade. Like, does that make any sense? Does that track with what you're telling people is reality? No, it doesn't. And fortunately, it seems like people are seeing through that, and people are buying a PlayStation console because it's what fits their needs. And the power of the library is a couple things. People are banking on the potential, right? If they even care, right? I think a realization is that there are gamers who grew up prior to and in the era of the strong, super strong first party Forte, no pun intended, Forte, but Forte of like these franchises that we have come to know and love. You know, the Uncharted's, the Infamouses, even, you know, the Resistances for the time that it was around, the Ratchet and Clanks, right? All these things that came out of the rise of the back really 2 years of the PlayStation 3 library and the PlayStation 4 time, where in a rather unprecedented form, first party really came to the rise on the PlayStation platform. It has historically been supported by a strength of a third party library. And we've seen a recession, if you want to call it, back to that during this time period. You can have all types of discussions about whether or not PlayStation has wasted resources, whether or not they've wasted clock cycles, you know, chasing after white elephants, and now need to figure out how to regather themselves and go back. I mean, I would contend I give tons of flack to Xbox for just piss poor management of its production pipeline when they have the vast number of studios that they do, and an inexcusable lack of productive output in the beginning of the generation. But I will admit that what we see from PlayStation is that, you know, both platforms have had their production pipeline problems. Xbox had them in the beginning of the generation and seems like they're recovering from them. PlayStation got off to a great start and really got to jump off the starter pistol in the beginning of the generation, but have stumbled and had problems with production pipeline management, kind of in the mid band of the generation. So, but despite that fact, the brand continues to be what the brand is, and this is what I constantly harp on with PlayStation. It's that skating towards the Apple ethos, right? Standing on the square of ecosystem, standing on the square of walled garden, standing on the square that allows them to optimize and provide high quality content that people are looking for. And look, there used to be a time when I stood outside the Apple Square yelling and screaming at the people inside the walled garden that they weren't open, that they were exorbitantly expensive. But hey, but Apple didn't get to be a member of the $1 trillion club and spend so much time as the number one, most highly valued by market cap company on the stock market, because that walled garden strategy doesn't work. It apparently does if you execute it properly, and it allows you to surge and win and claim market share in years where people say it's a down year. Again, Apple has had years where people will say the iPhone has not been innovative and hasn't moved an inch. The mofos still sell billions of handsets, right, every single year. Sure do. And people keep coming back and upgrading on a 1 year cycle. Not even just the 2 year, but a 1 year, like literally suck up and eat up programs that are oriented to have you upgrade every single year. So that strategy obviously plays well with a certain demographic of the market, and that is the strength that PlayStation is riding on right now.
Cool. Forte, what are your thoughts?
Man. Let me so Logic, in general, you think so do you think that's the good direction is what I'm kind of wondering.
What I will say, and I'm trying to gather myself into the total answer to this. What I will say is the beginning of entering this generation, my concern for PlayStation was that I go back to the beginning of this generation, just prior to the beginning of this generation, 2019. I was staunchly not a PlayStation fan. I would staunchly tell you, I preferred Xbox because even at the operating system level, I spent a ton of time in Windows at the time. I was like, this
Right.
OS is very analogous. Like, I prefer Xbox style games. I prefer the services. I've historically been an Xbox fan, not as much of a PlayStation fan in terms of its titles and the types of stuff that it offered. What I would tell you what I would say at the beginning of this generation was my opinion was my concern with PlayStation is that they will stand on the square they're currently on. They will double down on what they've done, which has allowed them to win that generation at the time, right? The PlayStation 4 generation. And they won't change quickly enough to accommodate things that are shifting around them. Now, I often comment that I study not... I obviously pay a lot of attention to PlayStation and Xbox, but the rest of my blogging life, right, is highly oriented around paying attention to Microsoft and Sony and big tech.
Right.
And my years of tracking Sony have been the frustrations at like all their proprietary memory formats and dealing with memory card and mini disc and even beta right back in the day and the championing of Blu-ray and like all these other things. I sometimes laugh at what the PlayStation guys say. This whole thing about like, oh, you know, PlayStation made the right choice with the M2 NVMe SSD for PlayStation 5 in comparison to what Xbox did. And I was like, you guys do realize this is literally the first time in Sony's history of media formats that it has ever backed the public, open, non-proprietary media format that's on the market, right? That they've always been this proprietary thing. So at any rate, that was my concern. But whether it's worked or not, what I will say is PlayStation this generation, even though they started at the outset saying, our customers believe in generations. We think our customers are willing to pay. We think our customers want high-end content, and that's what they're here for. Blah, 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 blah. Like, we're going to double down. I'm going to make Naughty Dog crank out more Uncharted per generation, right? That's what they said. But what they've actually done is they have tried to pivot and adjust to the market and maintain what they have become known for as a brand, but also expand that reach. And you're going to have times where you try to do some things like that and things don't work out well. They don't capitalize. They don't lead to an expansion. What they have done is they've paid attention to what I often lean on as like what I say is the first tenet of business, which is while you're investing to chase new customers at all costs, keep the customers you already have. And that is exactly what they've done, and they've continued to appeal to that demographic.
Yeah. I think they accomplished their. Actually, you know what, Forte, you never really got your thoughts out. You asked them a question. Go ahead, you go, and I'll finish up after you.
Yeah. With that, it's like I agree with that. It's like, listen, it seems okay. So PlayStation hasn't really talked about their games, and I think that it's two different conversations. So people feel like it's kind of down because PlayStation isn't talking about really their first party, but they still sell.
Hey, Forte, real quick, Priscilla in the chat was asking you what format were you playing Avowed with mouse and keyboard or controller?
I did both. This gameplay was with mouse and keyboard. With controller, and then when I was playing in third person, I played with mouse and keyboard.
Okay, cool. All right, go ahead.
But no, I think there's two different conversations around just the conversation around PlayStation. You know, people are talking about them not talking about their games, and it seems like they're not doing as well, but they're doing really well because they still sell their consoles. Like, consoles are still selling out whenever they get them in stock and everything for the most part. So I think the overall financials for them are always going to be doing well. I mean, they're the market leader, so they get most of the sales from everything that comes out. I just think a lot of people are just waiting for them to like open up the floodgates on whatever all the rest of their third parties and stuff are kind of working on at this point. That was kind of the biggest issue, which we're going to talk about when it comes to the state of play. You know, a lot of people were talking about, but I like to see that they're doing very, very well when it comes to this because Sony depends on PlayStation. You know, cameras do good for PlayStation, for Sony, TVs do good for them, but the console, that's like the lifeblood. That's like the blood that runs through everything on there. So them exceeding their sales expectations is really good. But this is the thing though. They also what is the word I'm looking for? They also redefine those expectations. It feels like every 3 months, like what their forecast is going to be. You know, I remember back in 2022, I think they were forecasted for like 26 and they downgraded that to 21. So they actually had their struggles too over the course of this generation. But it seems like they're finally hitting their stride where it's not, you know, consoles are there for anybody that really wants them. They have a PlayStation 5 Pro that's on the market right now that is selling probably to expectation, even though I haven't sold one in a while at my store. I just know that that's something that most people aren't going to be picking up. I do have people that inquire about it and ask what's the differences, but people still choose to just go with the base PS5. And guess what? That's perfectly fine, because if that's what people want to do, that's what people are going to do. But I think the biggest conversation around PlayStation is first party, and also with the fact that Xbox has most of their games, which is actually going to help that revenue side of PlayStation go up, because they're making more money off of those games. And when you're talking about games like Forza coming out this spring, Indiana Jones comes out tomorrow. Like I said multiple times, I think Forza is going to be the best racing game on that platform. You know, Gran Turismo is really good, but it's a track base, and Forza Motorsport isn't over there. And I do think Gran Turismo still could hold its own, but there's nothing like Forza over there. Horizon, and a lot of people are going to really eat that up. And then you start thinking about Doom, the Dark Ages coming over there and everything. So they have a lot of games coming that people can look forward to. Like I said, conversations really about just their first party. And, you know, once they really get that in order, I think then you'll start seeing the number of systems balloon, because I don't even think we've seen the balloon in console sales yet, due to the fact that most of these games, if you looked at that showcase, a lot of the games are still coming to PS4. It off over there, then you're going to really see, I think, a big uptick in console sold, especially starting this year with 2K coming out saying that Grand Theft Auto is still slated for a release of 2025. And I think that's going to be the number one salvo that's going to make all these numbers look better than they actually look right now.
So, but
yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So I'll try and go pretty quick.
mm-hmm.
But those titles come to PS4 are third party. Like and Sony can't like say, you know, we're preventing you from developing like a PS4 game. I mean, that's a choice the third party publishers are making. I mean, I overall agree with you, and you hit really at the crux of it, right? It's the dichotomy of the conversation, and where you're going to fall on whether it's genuine or disingenuine is sometimes going to be based on your perspective. The culture is angry at PlayStation,
right?
Like, the culture is mad because they don't see those things that were the bow wave that became the kaijus, right, of that era of PlayStation. Like the big titles, the big properties, the big IP, the Nathan Drakes, the stuff that would make right the 7% of us that are on Twitter that are hyper focused about the culture that make us happy, right? But the big thing is that the other 93% of the market that doesn't pay as much attention to that stuff and doesn't care about that, right? Except when they walk into, no offense, except when they walk into GameStop and hear that they should pay attention to that stuff, right? The proof of what they're buying is what's being reflected in the financials. And so the question comes down to, you know, are we as individuals, are we mad or happy with PlayStation based on those things? What I always fall on is I can be mad or happy with PlayStation all day. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, to me is whether or not it's business impactful. And when it's not business impactful, then I just shrug my shoulders, right, at the yelling and screaming, because I'm like, I get it, but apparently 93% of the rest of the market doesn't.
You know, I'm glad they're doing successful. Despite the I would say the lack of homegrown content that they have provided that people are looking for. And you know, with the recent changes that they've made with cutting a lot of the live service content that they were working on, there's a few live service games that are still in the works. Hopefully that means that they believe those games will be successful and not simply because those games were further enough along in development that they didn't find it financially comfortable in cutting those games, considering they're so close to launch. But I think what for them, that's something that they should hang their hat on and be very happy about, is that 42% of those who bought a console last quarter were new PSN users, new PlayStation players, because that's really what you're going to be drawing a lot of your future growth from. It's not necessarily the guys that are a bit disenchanted with where PlayStation is right now, and they think back to how PlayStation was in prior generations, or even just last generation, and they kind of want that to come back again. But I'm not saying that they won't bring that or some of that feeling back again, or start working on games of that caliber again. But these newer gamers don't have those expectations, and so I'm pretty sure they're happy with where that is going right now, and hopefully, you know, they can kind of keep those people engaged and keep them buying games or staying within PSN, you know, that PSN subscription. But what was really going to come down to is content that you're delivering. And so at some point they do have to square that away. And it's good to see, well, we're going to get into what the State of Play shows, but it's just, I think it's just good to see that they got a good high percentage of new user growth going on in there. Excuse me, I'm still somewhat sick here. Monthly active users being up is also good as well, but I think the most encouraging thing from what their statements about their financials was what soon to be CEO of the company, Totoki, said about this hardware growth. They believe will fuel a lot of software growth also, as well in the future. And considering where that hardware growth is going, when you know that there's going to be a GTA 6 right around the corner sometime this year, and it's not coming to PC at launch. So there's going to be a lot of people, whether they are on last gen consoles who haven't upgraded yet because they felt no need to, or PC gamers who are going to be a bit impatient and not going to want to wait for GTA 6, and maybe they'll pick up a current gen console in order to play it. They've got a lot of opportunity here to continue that growth and continue to you know, engage and be successful in the video game industry in the way that they find it to be, for them to be the most successful. I think that's about it. That's all I got. You guys got anything else on this before we get into this last topic?
No, you know, I do want to ask you this though. Do you think, it's a lot of conversation around the fact that PlayStation is doing as well as they're doing, selling consoles, that it would kind of affect, it's like kind of telling them that they don't have to produce as much first party as they normally would due to the fact that they're still selling systems? Do you think there's some validity to that? Do you think there would be an opportunity for them to do something like that?
I don't think that's the case. I think that may, I mean, you gotta also remember when these consoles are selling, they're selling in the holiday season. So they're selling at a time period where a lot of people were also looking, you know, maybe for you know, a Christmas gift for children or for themselves, looking for a new console to upgrade to. and in doing so and having a new platform, you're probably going to engage in games that may not be the freshest of spring chickens, but they're new to you. Eventually, though, you're going to have to deliver on content that people want, and of course, you're going to have your more general consumer, your common consumer that is going to get the games that they're already looking for because they're already there. Your Fortnites, your Minecraft, your Robloxes, Marvel Rivals, yada yada yada. But the reason why they bought your platform, where they could have got that anywhere, may very well be the fact that you have those games in addition to potentially another God of War coming, or another Spider-Man game coming, or, so on and so forth. You need to deliver on that content as well. Exclusive games are important. And so just because they may have had a very, very good quarter without delivering in any meaningful content whatsoever, doesn't mean that's something that should be change their business philosophy or change their strategy long term. If that answers your question.
Makes sense to me.
Cool. All right. Anything else you want to say, Logic, before we move on to the last topic?
No, man. I'm good.
Cool. All right, so State of Play was yesterday, and a lot of people have a lot of various opinions on how good or bad that it was, or mediocre. We're going to go through a number of the games, and then we'll get into how we felt about the whole show overall. But first game up was Monster Hunter Wilds, which is going to release later this month, February 28th. As we all know, Monster Hunter is a massive IP, one of Capcom's crowning jewels. Either you guys interested in playing this when it comes out later this month?
Monster Hunter Day 1, already got it paid for. Let's go. PC.
On PC, okay. Logic?
Old Logic this would have definitely been on my target list.
New Logic, no.
New Logic can't be bothered till he finishes the battle pass in season 2.
All right, well, past, present, and future SloMo is never going to play another Monster Hunter game. Sorry, they just does not. The gameplay loop does not appeal to me. But I do think Capcom is going to have a winner on their hands, and it's going to do well for them financially. Next was Shinobi Art of Vengeance, was a 2D side scroller Shinobi game. Looked pretty good to me. I'm not really kind of into those the side scrollers like that, but I thought that one was pretty dope looking. Logic, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm an old Sega head. I've been for decades wondering why Sega didn't get back to this. This is bigger in some ways to me than the Prince of Persia comeback was last year. So I think creatively it looks great. I may have to take a break from battle passing to get on this one even now. I could also see me picking this up and just putting it in my backlog and getting to it eventually. I feel like an obligation to pick this up. The worry I have from how it's going to do commercially is I just don't know if it's going to resonate with people. The Metroidvania space is, I don't know if it's saturated, but there's a lot of Metroidvanias. And while I might want to say that this would do well commercially, then I have to consider that. But Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown didn't. And this is very much kind of in that same vein, right? Just in terms of being a Metroidvania. So no telling.
With less production value, it is in the same vein just now. As I would say, Prince of Persia had some really nice cutscenes and a lot going on there. I don't, maybe there is a bit of oversaturation there. I do kind of hope it does well, just for the genre in general. Forte, what are your thoughts on Shinobi? Forte?
Oh shoot, I was muted. I don't know if the game's gonna be a success with a lot of people. I know when I saw that game, I was like, I have to play this game when it comes out. It's like one of the better games that they showed there, and I was like very, very happy with what they showed there. So I'm gonna definitely pick that up day one. It just comes down to did they give it a date?
August 28th.
Okay, so
Okay,
yeah, just
August
it really
28th.
so it's a week before.
It's a lot of games coming out in that time period.
Yeah, it's a month before Borderlands, so we'll see. But I definitely
It's a lot of games coming out in August in general as well. It's just that entire like last half of August, first half of September is very packed. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay, cool. Next was this complete dog crap basura Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Just a complete ripoff of Mario Kart, just with the trash mascot of Sonic in place of it. It looks terrible. It is terrible. Your thoughts, guys?
Oh man. Logic, you want to?
No thoughts on that.
You want to take that, Logic?
I mean, I don't feel as vindictive about this. I mean, it seems like Sonic hurt you at some point, like in your childhood.
No, it hurts my eyes. It's painful to watch.
I think this is gonna do. I think this is gonna do what it needs to for the culture. There are diehard Sega fans, diehard Sonic fans out there. I've always kind of sort of been over the notion of Sonic kart racing because I don't feel like it does. It tries to. I don't feel. And again, this is how the marketing plays for me, right? This is not a commentary on the games because I haven't played the games, but that's because the marketing has never appealed.
Who has? Who plays Sonic games? Nobody. Go ahead.
I'm sure
there's a lot of people that play Sonic games. I sold out of them during the holidays.
Hey, I'm sure a friend of the show, Everborn Saga, has played.
They bought them to burn them, just or use them as coasters or something. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't think this moves the needle, like you said, outside of what Mario Kart already does, and it's coming out in a year. I mean, network test is planned for February 21st. I'm assuming that means it's out no later than late May.
So we can line right up with Mario Kart 9 on Switch 2 and get completely river danced on.
Man, you are. Why are you like this?
Oh, Sega's always releasing Sonic at the worst possible time. It's just funny. Just like, hey, let's take our struggling mascot and let's release him up against Mario Kart 9. How much did Mario Kart 8 sell? What, like 5 billion copies? Yeah, that's perfect. Just go ahead and do that. And we copied it. It's just great. Anyway, all right. Shout out to Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I hope you do terrible. Next was Digimon Story Time Stranger.
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
It ain't for me. I'm Forte's good. The Logic, are you good with this?
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Look, I appreciate it. Look, Digimon doesn't do anything for me. Pokemon doesn't do anything for me. That's just not my bag. But you know, the things sell like manga. So, you know, I'm glad it's there for the gamers who want it. It's interesting to get a Digimon title. What I don't, I mean, Forte, maybe you know better than I do. I mean, its release cadence is nothing like Pokemon. So
no, it's not.
Good that it's getting out there. You know, yay for them.
There's a lot of people that like Digimon. It's a big franchise. It's just it was like part of the reason why I could care less about this show to an extent. But we'll get into that to the end. But Digimon it's not horrible. It's just not something that I care to.
We do not care about Digimon. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Don't nobody up here care about it. Don't nobody in the audience care about it. People forgot Digimon existed until this trailer popped up. And guess what happened as soon as the next game we're gonna talk about popped up? They forgot Digimon was even there. Anyway, next game. Am I being slanderous? Yes.
Yeah, you are.
You are being
very.
messy.
Yeah, hey, it is a time for mess. Lost Soul aside, we have been waiting for this game for almost a decade now, by Chinese creator Yang Bing. It's coming out on February 19th. I'm sorry. Pre-orders open on February 19th. It is releasing on May 30th of this year. Finally, here's a game that I would freely admit I've been waiting on and used to do videos of on my channel since about 2018, 2019. So it's been good grief, it's been 6 or 7 years now of me waiting for it. I think it's been so long that a lot of what Yang Bing showed of it in the beginning that looked innovative and fresh and now looks somewhat dated due to it being so long and other games kind of seeing what he was working with and then actually being a bit more organized in game development and efficient in getting a game out sooner. But that said, I'm still hyped for playing it, and I think it's gonna look awesome on my PC. Forte, what were your thoughts about Lost Soul aside?
I've never really been 100% into it as much as you have been. Mostly because I haven't really paid attention to it as much as you have. So I don't know if I'm gonna be there day one. But like you said, I did look at some stuff after the fact, and I will go back to something you said during the stream where you said you could kind of see some of the 2-gen old blemishes on the game because it's been in development for so long. Hopefully over the course of the next couple of months, they can iron a little bit of that out and bring a little of that up. But for myself, it just really depends at that point. I mean, because it's single player, or is it single player? Is it co-op? I didn't really.
It's a single player game, but it's been in the. I feel like it is the poster child for feature creep. And what feature creep is typically when in the game's in development and then like the creators keep adding new features, not really taking into account how implementing those features in the correct way is adding more time to the development of the game, where, you know, maybe at some point you do need to have a hard stop on new features being added. And if you look at the game from the very beginning until each time they began to show it, you would see very new kind of game design being implemented to the point now where like they're showing this female protagonist that like ain't nobody seen her before this year, and she's like and before I thought she was just like a companion on the side, and then it looked like she's playable. Like I was like, oh crap, I didn't know that was a thing. So it's just so much heat they kept adding instead of, I felt like, yo, just release the game. You got some great dope ideas you want to add to it, make that a nice fire expansion, you know, that you can then add even, you know, later on for make yourself even more money, and then you can kind of get some player feedback in the meantime, and then maybe incorporate some changes or some upgrades to the experience that people are looking for. But you just keep adding things without finally just putting your foot down and releasing it, you get to the point where now it's been nearly 9 years since you first showed it, and people still waiting on your game, you know?
Right.
Logic, what are your thoughts on it?
I don't have the optimism and hope that Forte has. I believe that what I feel is that when you have these lengthy development times, devs never go back to those early levels. They just suck it up and let it go and hope that people will be enamored by like that third level that starts to look more modern. You know, it's kind of like watching TV shows, right? When you're binge watching like something that's like 9 seasons, and then all of a sudden in season 3, you see they got, you know, the show was successful, so they got better cameras. Right, and the show starts looking better.
Right. Yeah.
That
was
said,
an upgrade.
Sounds like Cobra Kai.
Yes. Boy.
Yeah, definitely. That first season, loved it, but it was rough. I mean, it looks like they were recording that on YouTube with their iPhones. Yep. It was rough. Yeah.
But I'm also not as and if I'm reading your take on it wrong, by all means set me straight. I'm also not as critical of, like, it's a single developer, so
well, he does have a studio now. So
okay.
The very first maybe like 2-3 years of development, and this is also one of the very, very first China Hero Project games.
Right.
So he's been supported by Sony and Epic Games from the very start, but they helped him. They recognized his need to have some support and resources, and so they helped him develop a team, a studio. They're not a very big studio. I think they were definitely less than 50 developers the last time I looked into it. But the name of the studio now is called Util Zero Games, and they have been working with Yang Bing on it for the bulk of its development, but it's just still, he's the main director. I've seen interviews from China Hero Project representatives where they expressed frustration with the project and saying that its development pitfalls have I guess kind of finding a silver lining and a bright side to it, help them understand how they can better curate the games they put into China Hero Project in the future, and also help creators be more efficient in getting their games out. So I hope it does well, because if it doesn't, I don't know if Yang's going to get more opportunities out here to do more beyond this if it doesn't do well, because I feel like he may have somewhat burned some bridges there with other entities in the course of the process here.
Yeah, I mean, that I could see that and accept it, and definitely concur that that's rational. Emotionally, I still give them a pass. So, and I think, and my hopes are, this game plays well, right? That it's another, maybe, I mean, not a Wukong in terms of like game of the year type stuff, but definitely I just hope, my hopes go with them that this is a solid entry, and it finds an audience and people enjoy it. I think it's a good thing, when we get around to me telling Forte how wrong he is in his overall take on the state of play. One of the things we're going to talk about is like portfolio management and providing variety and like spreading your titles out and yada yada yada. And I feel like this is a title that provides part of that variance in kind of what they put on display, and is good pipeline continuity right throughout the year.
That don't mean spread your titles out over a decade.
Okay, look, we can get to that later. Let's finish up with these games. We'll get to the you can put your boxing gloves on and we can get it on in a bit.
Let's get it on.
After Lost Soul Aside was a Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii demo, a promotion for a demo that's going to go live tomorrow, actually. So if you're interested in the Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii game, then that's something that you can sink your teeth into. I'm pretty sure most people who are into the Like a Dragon games already know they're going to love it ahead of time. So you guys can enjoy that. And there was a Dave the Diver DLC, which looked like to be a crossover with Yakuza as well, called Ichiban's Holiday. Did you all ever play Dave the Diver? I've played it before. I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't get too far into it, but I thought I liked it. Did anyone else play it?
Nope.
Okay, Logic is stepping away for a quick second. He's getting he's getting ready. He's putting on his Vaseline for the fight. The Vaseline on his face and everything.
Vaseline and terrible.
Yeah,
didn't have to put on Vaseline for a fight.
No, you know how you got hit on your face so that the punches slide off. They don't hit you square. You know what I mean. Anyway, WWE 2K25 coming to last gen and current generation as usual, because it's 2K launching on March 14. Forte, you don't play these games, do you?
No, I just know it's gonna be a money pit.
Oh yeah, because it's definitely doing what NBA 2K is doing, where it's got the whole social aspect. You can build your own wrestler. You can walk around some big area and challenge people and flex and do promos. I guess I don't know what you're doing in there, but they definitely have monetized or got it into the monetization flow or in-game design that they got going for NBA 2K. So open your wallet because that's how Take-Two rolls. And they had a lot of Take-Two in here actually, because there's also Borderlands 4. And that launch date trailer was shown, and Borderlands 4 is going to be releasing September 22nd. Again, another game in that release period that we talked about. Logic is back, cool. This game, I was actually surprised that we got a release date, because I had heard some weirdness over the past week that Borderlands 4 may be coming out after GTA 6, which kind of shocked me, because something that I had heard from someone who's kind of in the know with the Borderlands IP was that it was going to be a summer release. So it hitting in September means maybe, there was a little bit of a delay in the development, or near the later stages of development, but it's still pretty much on schedule. Forte, you and me are big Borderlands fans, so
yes,
this is we definitely playing this. Like this is it's done. We playing it. We gonna stream. We gonna be doing our thing. I might be doing some build videos out here.
We're gonna do how-tos, how to beat. We're gonna do build videos, how-tos. We gonna turn that game upside down, literally.
We all three.
Logic, are you joining us?
Yeah, we all three streaming it, playing co-op.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you're joining us, yeah.
DPS crew for life.
Let's go. Sounds like a plan. I can't wait. I called the siren. I don't even know who the siren is, but I know there's a siren. I already called it.
No. It's too late.
I called it. It's done.
Then I'm gonna play by
myself. Are you serious?
Yes. I only play as sirens. That's it. I don't play with nothing else.
I play because I'm a true Borderlands fan. I make a character for all four, sir.
Well, then you start with one of the other ones, then you can go to the siren.
Oh my, you're the worst. You big baby. Fine, I'll get the soldier or assassin, whichever other classification they come on, since you want to be a big baby about it. Anyway,
I want my siren.
Split Fiction is the next game from Hazelight Studios, Joseph Ferris studio, and this is their next game after winning Game of the Year with It Takes Two. Split Fiction is very much in the same co-op format where you have two people using or controlling two different characters in various different levels of very innovative level design and good storytelling for the most part. I'm definitely interested in this one. I think we got a release date. It's March 6th, which is actually pretty soon. Are you guys interested in this?
I definitely am. I play It Takes Two with my wife, and we've been looking for games like that to keep playing. And I know a lot of people have been looking for games like that. So, and then with my daughter being even more into like hanging out and playing games with me, I'll definitely play it with her too. So yeah, I definitely can't wait for that to do that with her and them.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm super interested in this. Unfortunately, I probably won't. I mean, I didn't play A Way Out. I didn't play It Takes Two because I don't have friends.
You have us. You have us. You want to go through one of you want to SloMo will do A Way Out with you, and then I'll do It Takes Two with you.
I don't know, and again we'll test it tonight because I don't know if our friendship could maintain that experience.
Oh well, okay, fine. If you want to be all emotional about it.
Oh, here we go. All right. So anyway, next from Supermassive after like 3 L's, is Directive 8020, which is a story about some astronauts in space on some mission, and it looked pretty scary, and it looks it looks like John Carpenter's The Thing, but in space. Like maybe like a mixture between that and Event Horizon or something like that. So premise seems pretty interesting. I'm not quite certain Supermassive can land it, but in typical fashion with me, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'll be there to buy it and then be disappointed yet again. Logic, do you ever play any of these Supermassive games?
I'm
kind of Telltale-like games.
I'm not a survival horror fan, like Dead Space. Like, I mean, I play the Resident
this
Evil
is
games.
less that. This is more Telltale with like a horror theme to it.
Yeah, I mean, mechanics wise, I still feel like from a plot, story, objectivity standpoint, it's still, I push it all in that corner. I'm a person who is also very, like, when it comes to roguelite and roguelikes, I push all of that stuff in the same corner. So I don't have a really stringent bar for like it taking much for it to be the threshold that it's not for me. So this game is the same. It's not for me. But I've never played a Dark Pictures anthology game. But again, I know that this appeals to people on the market, so I'm glad it's there for them. And it looked great.
Yeah. Visually, all their games always look pretty awesome. I just think it's just like everything else that's been, especially characters and storytelling, that's been kind of the weak spot since Until Dawn. But Forte, what are your thoughts on Directive 8020?
It looks cool. It's one of the better games that I saw at the showcase. Once again, I don't think did it have a release date?
Yes, it's October 2nd.
Oh yeah, no.
They always release their games close to Halloween.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, that they definitely just flirting with danger here.
I don't care what
GTA 6 was right there. They're just like, we don't care. We don't care.
No, it's going to be one of those games that. See, this is the thing. I come to the realization that we can say we're going to play games and we're going to say that that game looks real interesting. We're going to give that game a try. And then that date comes and goes. And then you say, oh, I'll buy it when it goes on sale. And then you never buy it. Or if you do buy it, I was telling Enrique this the other day. You do buy it and it just sits in your backlog forever. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that game. So, but it looks really good. Unless Grand Theft Auto pushes itself out of 2025, it looks like that game's going to be a Call of Duty war.
I'll push back on that a little. There is a good chance that this finds traction with the streaming community, because for some reason, and I've never understood it, I've never agreed with it, I've never aligned with it, the streaming community does love streaming those Dark Anthology games.
They do. But what I will say is that I think there is a significant number of people that are fine with watching a streamer play that, and that's all the engagement they ever get out of it than playing it themselves.
Yes, true.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I may stream it, so if you guys want to see that, just let me know, when it comes out.
We want you to finish Alien Isolation.
Anyway, so Friday Nights at Freddy's, Secret of the Mimic, I don't care. Releasing June 13th. I'm not interested in this. I don't think either you guys are either. You guys aren't Friday Night Freddy's fans, huh?
How you know? Logic might love
my son likes this game, actually.
No, not for me. SloMo got it.
See, there you go. And I know you don't play it, Forte. So stop the lies anyway.
My kids play it. I only think my kids play it. So
see, Forte.
My son likes them. That's about all I can say.
Regardless of all our conflicts, like this is what hurts me is my feeling that you don't know me. But
that I what?
That you don't know me.
That I don't know you. I was just making a joke.
This friendship is getting tested. We're not even at the argument yet, and this is just it's coming. Okay, so look, the Midnight Walk was dark fantasy adventure. It looked like it was a PSVR 2 game, supposed to be coming out May 8th. We don't care, right? VR 2? Nah, no one cares, right? I can move on.
My only comment, same thing I said on Brap last night. What I think is I mean, it's cool that this game is coming out for people who have a VR2. The whole 10 people who still
the
have
whole
theirs.
10 people that still have it.
Oh man.
But what's actually neat about this game is it's dual mode, right? So it's not constrained to just the VR2 market. So it's a game that I thought was interesting, right, in how it looked and may play out well for people looking just to play the regular version on PlayStation 5. It's hitting in that May timeframe, kind of as you know, school years are wrapping up. It's not into Memorial Day weekend, so people aren't looking for that Memorial Day game. You know, so it may play out well.
Okay, cool. Darwin's Paradox was like a platformer where you're playing as a squid, and in times of danger, the squid will like blend in, camouflage itself with the environment. I thought that was a pretty interesting game mechanic. It looked all right, you know, not really for me, but I think it might do pretty well. What were your thoughts on it, Forte?
Which game was it again?
Darwin's Paradox with the squid.
The squid. Nah. I had too many squids in my life. If it's not on my plate, I don't want it. I don't want it.
All right. Logic.
Well, that's the point of the game, Forte. You're trying to escape a food factory.
I know. I said if it's not on my plate, I don't want it.
Not for me, but maybe finds an audience with a younger crowd.
Man, I'm starting to see a trend here with all these games. But go ahead, SloMo. I'm starting to see a trend.
Warriors Abyss. Yeah, I don't even remember what that one was.
Nope,
it was a cross-gen game. Yeah, all right, we're gonna keep it moving. Wait, no. I remember it. This was like the Dynasty Warriors game, but it was like top-down perspective.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, pass.
Yeah, I'm definitely passing on that. Yeah, for Logic, you partaking? You passing? What are you doing?
SloMo, I thought SloMo knew you. He should already know the answer to that.
I'm passing, but I think this will find a small bit of fun. I don't expect that Koei expects this to be a huge splash. It expects it to appeal to the Dynasty Warriors hardcore, which they exist. Which is why there have been like 24 variants of that game made, which I've never understood. Even though I picked up Dynasty Warriors Origins last month. So
yeah, I heard that was good. I heard that was pretty decent, actually.
It's interesting. Yeah. It breaks a little bit of the mold by incorporating some, RPG features and stuff like that. Maybe that's been in the franchise before already, but for me, this is me coming back to the series from the toe dips that I've taken before. So, I expect the Koei expects this appeals to kind of like your, Vampire Survivors type crowd looking for like a small morsel of something that trades on, the same IP that they like in the bigger games.
Gotcha. Al tried to kind of speed this up a little bit. We had Onimusha 2 Remaster, Samurai's Destiny Remaster, as well as a new Onimusha, Way of the Sword, that's supposed to be coming out next year. I didn't think the remaster looked that updated. It says it's got higher resolution graphics and modernized controls. Maybe the controls have been modernized, but the visuals did not look that modernized to me. That said, I thought the new one for next year looked pretty good. Forte, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I haven't played Onimusha since 8 gens ago, it seems. I thought the same thing when I saw it. It didn't look like it was that upgraded to me, but I will say I did like the overall, like I was talking about the particles and everything in the game. I was like, yo, this actually looks pretty cool. And just because it doesn't look as good as like current gen games, it's still a game that I more than likely would probably be interested in playing. Oh crap, what?
Nothing. Don't worry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, what you do?
I ain't do anything. What are you talking about?
You did something. I'm gonna go back and watch the stream.
Can you continue? What are you talking about?
That's all I was saying. I'm done.
Okay, all right, cool.
Now I'm about to play detective.
Ain't nothing to play.
I'm about to play detective now.
Logic. Onimusha, you partaking or what? What are we doing?
Yeah,
got the gameplay on the screen.
in order to help us move faster, I'm gonna transition to old logic. Onimusha 2, passing on that. I don't spend a ton of time going back for remasters, redesigns, remakes maybe, but with a few exceptions. So I'm passing on Onimusha 2. It's a PlayStation 4 game, which is probably why the visuals don't look particularly spectacular. So I guess that's for some people who are super nostalgic. Onimusha: The Way of the Sword, however, looks good. Super stoked to see the franchise come back. Definitely interested in playing that.
Cool. Something that I need to always say every time this comes up. Never go full Kojima.
Never.
Go full Kojima. But it looks like Konami's not doing that because they don't have Kojima with them no more. But we do have a Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater remake in a release date of August 28th. Good grief. Like that day, that entire week is just got game after game after game. It's ridiculous. But so that's coming out. I thought the trailer looked pretty cool. I do kind of wonder how modernized they're going to make the game and how, as far as its execution is going to be without Kojima there as a guiding hand. His overrated guiding hand, by the way. But anyway, so Logic, what are your thoughts about Snake Eater?
I was surprisingly piqued. My interest was piqued at this. I haven't really been interested in a Metal Gear Solid since the first one on PlayStation. The first one, technically the second one, on original PlayStation. This one actually surprisingly caught my interest, and so it would be something that I'm interested in playing. Unfortunately, I don't own a PlayStation 5, so I won't be able to play it when it first hits. When it's coming to PC, I'm not sure, but it piqued my interest.
Okay. Forte?
The game piqued my interest almost 2 years ago on March 24th of 2023 when they showed it for the first time, and my interests
Definitely
are still
Google that.
And my interests are still piqued after they showed it for the 5th time in the last 2 years.
Oh wow, 5th time, yeah. All the slander in the world. So I'm a pass because even with it being a past Kojima game, I don't care. Hell is Us, which is not for me. Just definitely not for me.
Pass.
Yeah, September 4th. That's releasing. If you into those kind of games, more power to you. I hope you love it. I will pass. But Forte seems to agree. Logic. What about you, man?
So I thought the game looked interesting. What do you mean by if you're into games like that? Is that a genre?
The genre, like that kind of like horror kind of. I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Yeah, it depends on what it is. It looked like the gameplay mechanics were a little more towards kind of standard third-person action adventure, maybe a little shootery. But if it's something like what was the game, Forte, that was you were like in parallel worlds and every once in a while you stepped aside and
Median.
Was that it? This was a big Game Pass game or big
Median.
Bloober Team. Yeah, the Medium.
Medium. Yeah, medium.
Medium. Maybe it was medium. Yeah. I mean, if it's like that, if it's hardcore survival horror, not interested. But if it scoches back a little bit more towards the mainstream, then I'd definitely be interested. I was super interested by the trailer.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Well, I hope you get a chance to check it out with all the hotness dropping all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Lies of P, a prequel, actually. Me and Forte were discussing this yesterday because we were a little bit confused initially on what it exactly was, if it was DLC, a sequel, whatever. But it turns out it is a prequel to Lies of P, the hit roguelite. Souls-like game. And it's going to be cross-gen. It's going to be on last gen and current gen.
Of course.
And that actually, I think we have a release date for that. Is that? Hold up. Is there a release date?
Brian E says slow mo.
No, there isn't.
Easy.
Brian, no. I don't scare easy. I just don't like it. I don't care. Okay?
It does,
okay?
It does say it's a summer release.
Summer, so they don't have a date, but they got a period. Summer, I think is good for that kind of game. I think a lot of people will look forward to that because that was one of the better Souls-like games to ever come out, and it was high quality title. I think a lot of people will look into it. Either you guys interested? You?
Okay,
cool.
No,
That's fine.
No, because I don't play Souls. Like I'm confused over what. Because I see
Here we
multiple. I see multiple references to this thing as a prequel, as you mentioned, but also still DLC. So I don't get if it's DLC that is a prequel.
So it's
or
like
what.
it's a DLC, but takes place before the beginning of. I don't know. Look, I just saw a prequel on Polygon, so I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense then. But
and I swore I saw somewhere.
it's got to be a smaller experience considering how quickly this has come out since the release of the game, because that game came out in like 2 years ago, right? 2023, I feel like. Yeah, so like there's just no way they did a full-on sequel in that time period. Like I don't think they're that good. But it would make sense if it was either like a smaller, shorter standalone experience or a DLC that turned out to just take place prior to the events of the first game.
Yeah, and I swore I saw somewhere a little bumper sticker that said, requires ownership of the previous release or the main title or whatever. But
Okay.
wrong.
Oh yeah. I do remember seeing that. Okay, so it is DLC. It's just takes place before the previous game. Okay, cool. There was try to speed this up. Dreams of Another looked like it was trying to merge shooting elements with creating stuff or destroying and create. I don't know. I wasn't interested.
That was the pixel
Forte?
art game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Logic.
Nope, not interested.
All right. And speaking of games that will never get a sequel, Days Gone Remastered is coming to PlayStation 5 and PC on April 25th. So if you own this game on PC or PlayStation, you can get this remastered for $10 extra, and you get all the new modes and the barely upgraded visuals. And I'm not interested in that either. So either you two care about Days Gone Remastered?
Didn't care about it when it came out.
All right. Logic?
No. I mean, no. No. and I'm gonna again call PlayStation out. Like I don't like this is look. I'm not a big one for talking about cash grabs and price gouging and all that kind of mess. However, I don't like this. The game came out 3 years ago on PC, and you're asking for a $10 upgrade on PC when on PC people do up-reses and all these types of things and put stuff like this in games. And on Steam, the upgrades are free, right? You own the game. It just comes down like as a big patch.
Yeah.
For a marquee title like Spider-Man or maybe even Last of Us, maybe okay. Death Stranding, maybe. But for a B tier, C tier title like Days Gone, I no.
Yeah, I didn't like the game when it came out. I tried to give it a shot, and Deacon, what's his name? Deacon something. Whatever. Deacon. This is their first name.
I was gonna say Deacon Frost, but that's Blade.
I was gonna say Deacon Jones, but that was a football player. But look, Deacon, that's his name. His name's Deacon. I found him annoying, and I just couldn't stand him his constant inner monologue going off every 5 seconds when I played it. I didn't get very far in it before I quit. So I'm not really caring about this, but if you like it, I love it. I hope you guys enjoy the remaster because you're not getting a sequel. Stella Blade and I hate the name for this, but
one.
Well, okay, yeah, this is coming. It's PC release.
Yes,
is coming in June. But there's also, with that PC release, a DLC for
Nikita
Shift Up's previous game, which is Goddess of Victory Nikki, which is just, it was like a mobile game. It was just the excuse to look at some big digital, So it wasn't really much more than that. Stellar Blade's way more of a game than their previous work. But that looks like that's going to launch at the same time as this PC release, and it's coming to PlayStation 5 as well. So I do think I will pick that back up on PC. I never finished Stellar Blade. I got like near the end, and it was just too many other games I wanted to play that were in the way, and I'll just replay it and finish it on PC. That's what I'm gonna do.
All about them yams.
Lord. Okay, already know how Forte feels about it. Logic, what do you feel about Stellar Blade's PC release in this Goddess of Victory DLC?
Hold on. You can't be skipping over me. Hold on.
I didn't say...
Can't be skipping over me. You said you already know how I feel. I want to let people know how I feel. Yams.
and more yams.
Yeah, that's about what I thought you were going to say. So, all right, Logic. Your thoughts.
Not interested. If I need to see her yams,
not interested.
If I need to see her yams, I can just follow her on Instagram.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but we can't play with
her. You mean the
actual
actress? Because, they definitely digitally enhanced.
They definitely, because she
ain't got nothing back there. Let's not. We're getting way off the beaten path here. Blueprint, which was I don't remember what that was. We can move on.
Blueprint, like the seat. Like
no,
the album?
Not Blueprint. Blueprints.
Oh, Blueprints. Oh, I'm about to say Jay-Z new album.
Abiotic Factor. I don't remember it. Does anyone remember Abiotic Factor? No? Dope. Game that I thought was the best looking game there. Tides of Annihilation. Looked fan-freaking-tastic. And apparently, in like 2 or 3 hours, they're going to release 11 minutes of gameplay. We won't be still live when that happens, but I have already got it on my wish list on Steam because that is going to be mine. That looked good. It looked really good. I enjoyed it. Forte, what were your thoughts about Tides of Annihilation?
Best game shown at the show. Best game.
Yeah, I agree.
When I saw, I was like, "Yo, this looks crazy!" And then like the parkour, the traversal of the areas, just the aesthetic of it, the boss battles. I was like, yo, this is good. And I'm definitely gonna be playing that day one when it comes out.
Yep. Logic, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, definitely interested. Coming to PC. Just need to hear that it is not roguelite, Souls-like. And then I'm good.
I don't know. Because you can see some of those elements of that, like in the boss fight parts they showed. But then there are games that appear to be somewhat Souls-like, but then you play them and turn out they're not like that hardcore with it. I kind of hope it's not Souls-like. I would just prefer not everything to be that, right now. Because I feel like everyone wants to be a Souls-like ever since Elden Ring came out, and so it'll be good to have some variety there.
Yeah,
but it looks good. I like the way the protagonist looks. I think she looks like really cool, and visually it looked great. My bad. You're about to say something.
No, I was gonna say it looks like it skates a little bit in the direction of a Bayonetta Devil May Cry. But it also might be similar to what was the action-oriented Final Fantasy that came out?
Oh yeah, like Final Fantasy Origins or something like that.
I don't know. What wasn't it a numbered one? Was it 16? This is the one that
with Clive.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that kind of okay. I feel you there. I like 16. I like 16. And yeah, Brian East. I was thinking about Stranger in Paradise. But yeah, he's talking about 16. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a game of the show. I thought that it looked great. Hopefully it really delivers on expectations, because it'd be nice to have a nice little sleeper hit this year where we kind of feel like we know what the biggest games of the year will be. And I've got my eye on like a nice little handful of games that I think are going to make a impact when they release, that people quite aren't really looking out for. And I hope this is to add this game onto that list. We have Metal Eden, which is like a first-person shooter.
Yeah,
like a little pixel. Yeah, that looked okay. Looked all right.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna play it, but just due to time. But I thought that looked all right. What do you guys think about Metal Eden?
I'm definitely playing it. And I'm surprised, SloMo, because I was certain you were too, because we
Hey, listen, he was on Braff yesterday. It's like, oh yeah, me and my brother in SloMo, my brother from another mother, we gonna be playing this day one, and you just disappointed him. I thought
Look,
you
it
knew
looks all right. I just kind of feel like I don't know if I'm gonna have time.
It's in the vein of Trepang 2, which we both played.
Yes. Oh, Trepang is chef's kiss. It's just good old school first person.
So why you don't think you're gonna get to it then?
Just I didn't finish Trepang.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They about to break up. They breaking up.
That's less than an 8-hour game. Come on, man. You're the one who puts out this list every year of games beat. Bro, I'm
feeling judged right now, man. I'm feeling judged right now. Look,
if Logic is able to find
every intention in the world to finish Trepang, and I just didn't. Okay, it's still waiting for me to get to the second third of the game. So I just know where I am right now, and there are games that's like, I can see myself playing that, but can I see myself finishing it is a different story. Anyway, look, we can move. Mind's Eye. Now, Mind's Eye look like. Here's the thing.
Like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. So I'm confused because I liked what I saw in some aspects, and then I was like, "Is this a car game?" Because it's just like, why y'all keep bringing up showing cars? It's just like everything seemed to be so not about cars. This dude, I got some implant in my head. I'm trying to deal with that. I'm like, okay, I can dig it. And then he's like, yeah, they got all this other stuff going on. It seemed real crazy. And I'm like, okay. And then it's like car. And I'm like, but why?
Because he's a developer that worked on Grand Theft Auto.
But why add the car stuff? It's just so random. It's like two different games. It's just like this dope sci-fi shooting stuff, and then we doing car heist or like high impact car chase scenes, and I'm like, bro. Can we just keep the car stuff out? Can I skip it?
Car stuff.
I really don't want the car stuff at all. Everything but the car stuff looked great. I just don't care.
Do you love the car stuff in Cyberpunk?
Not really. If you notice, you ever look at my gameplay of Cyberpunk, I'm always on a motorcycle.
That's true. You are.
I don't really care. I don't like the car driving physics in Cyberpunk. I think they're too sensitive. And the cars feel like they're going to just fly off the road if I try to execute a hard turn. And so I just roll with the motorcycles because they control far better, and I get to see my character, which I rarely get to see all the time because it's first person. So I just like maybe you guys have a different thought on it. I just wasn't. I was just confused by Mind's Eye and didn't really like all the car stuff in it.
It seems like I mean, when I talk about this being like a cross between, like, I don't even know how many things I'm going to put in that bucket. It seems like a cross between, obviously, Grand Theft Auto, but more so to me, Deus Ex meets Cyberpunk with trying to make you feel like you're in a Bad Boys movie.
Bad Boys.
I mean, so many things. I have high hopes. I don't know that we saw too much of it that's like thoroughly convincing, but I have high hopes that maybe there's way more of an emphasis on actual gunplay than a Grand Theft Auto game.
But Logic, it seemed very much like, my name is Darian Barian. I got this chip in my head and I need to get it out. I don't know what it's doing to me, but you know what I gotta do? I gotta drive. It's just like, stop. Stop. I mean, you were good until you started talking about driving. It's just like, it doesn't make sense.
It very much has elements of Enemy of the State, Minority Report, mixed with Too Fast, Too Furious, right? Like,
yes, you're right. It just went left there.
But I like a lot of that stuff, right? And so the question to me is does this go together well like a Reese's peanut butter cup, right? Or does the chocolate mixed with the peanut butter just come out tasting bad? Like, they got that old rusty ass like Chinese peanut butter and mixed with the good chocolate, and it just comes out all overall bad. So I don't know. I have high hopes for it, and based on hopes and optimism, I'll say that I'm there for it. Making a leap of faith that it's going to stick the landing.
All right. Forte, did you have anything else to say about that before we get to the last game?
No.
All right. Last game is Soros, Housemarque's new IP. They announced it with a cinematic trailer, and a gameplay trailer is supposed to come later this year. This one, where Returnal, their previous game, was a rogue like Like. This is going to be a rogue lite, Lite. So the difference between them is that most rogue like games are pretty unforgiving. If you fail in a run, you're not really getting like anything to improve your character for the next run, where a rogue lite is a little bit less forgiving. You have resources to upgrade. You get stronger over time, over runs. Like, basically the difference between, say, like Returnal and Hades. And it looks like Housemarque is going in the direction of a Hades, which I think is a smart idea. I think roguelites do better commercially and within being accepted among the gaming community than a roguelike will. But I thought it looked pretty dope. They had that actor, the Indian actor. His name is Tamir Hussain, I think is his name.
No, I think Tamir is the GameSpot podcast host. I think this guy's name is Rahul Cooley or something like that.
There you go. Thank you. Good grief. Rahul Cooley. Here we go. Yeah, Rahul something. Yeah. He's been in a lot of stuff though. I've seen him in a lot of pretty good like movies, TV shows, that kind of thing. I think he fits this role pretty well. And I'm interested in seeing more. I know there were some people who thought maybe this might cinematically or story-wise be within the same universe as Returnal. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I'm down for this, especially because of the changes there. I actually think I got a quote on that. Let me find it real quick. So yeah, it says a key gameplay distinction between Seiros and Returnal is permanent resources and progression, making every death valuable. After every death, you will face a changed world, but in Seiros, you will be able to choose and permanently upgrade your loadout from an evolving set of weapons and suit upgrades to come back stronger to overcome the challenges you face on Carcosa. Now, with that, what I hope we get, I just almost hit my mic. What I hope we get is harder bosses. So kind of to counteract the ability for permanent upgrades to make yourself stronger. I hope the bosses are harder and that in the overall world is less forgiving and harder in order to kind of balance that out. So although you may feel like you got that, well, you know what, I'm making progress. I may have died in the second biome, but this time, like I got some upgrades. I'm gonna get a little bit stronger. And that may kind of like psychologically help people keep going, but the actual content itself is pretty hard. Because I loved Hades. But like I feel like a lot of people never got past the snake in Hades. That snake in the second biome had people in a chokehold, and I got to the point where I was just styling on learning. I'm like, you can't even hit me, I think a feeling of progression that it's a little bit of it's not easy because you clearly got to understand the pattern of the bosses to win. Just because you get stronger doesn't mean you're going to cakewalk it. But there is this balance that I think Supergiant, who made Hades, created in that game that made it so that it was, although challenging, it was not it didn't make you feel like it was impossible. And not saying that Returnal made people feel like that. I think Returnal just had like I don't know, maybe I know some people who never got past that first boss. I ain't gonna say no names, but I know you know who you are, right? So those people I feel got frustrated and quit. I do understand the feeling of I made it to the third biome, I died because I did something stupid. No, I had a nice build on loadout, and now it's all gone. I gotta start all over again. There's a level of frustration that comes with that makes people just want to just drop it. Whereas if you have some kind of upgrade path, whether it be actually super useful or not, it may make you feel like continuing to go forward because you feel like you're improving to something, if I'm making sense here. No? Okay, that's fine.
No. What'd you say?
I said I'm trying to see if I'm making sense because I know I've been running my mouth for a second.
You make sense. I will just add to that. For me, I got to biome 3, and then I just they got to make sure this game is stable. They got to make sure we don't have no issues with it, because that's the only reason I dropped it. Because I felt like the game disrespected me by my game crashing, and then you put all that work in on these runs, and then you got to start over, and that was like very, very disappointing. I understand that's the allure of the game, but when like you said, it already feels bad when you do something bad to make your run in, but when it's not in your control. Like games crashing, saves being lost, or not saves being lost, but just stuff like that happening where it's completely out of your control. I think that's the stuff that really made it so people just didn't want to continue playing it. So hopefully with this one, they don't have any issues like that.
Yeah, and just to be clear, because I think some people may got confused in the chat. I have beaten Hades. I wasn't talking about myself. Couldn't get past the snake. Like I said, I was styling on learning. Forte, I have beaten that game.
I know you have.
On 3 different platforms, and I've had footage during the podcast of me beating that snake. So stop it. No, I love Hades. Hades was my the year that came out. I think that was my game of the year.
It was.
I believe.
I remember.
And yeah, I love the story, and I just love the challenge it provided. And so maybe I'm kind of leaning into how Supergiant does roguelites, and maybe I'm hoping that is what Housemarque will bring as well. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know, right? But that's just my thought on it. I'm ready for this when it comes out, likely next year. I think they said they're looking at 2026.
Yeah, 2026.
Logic. What were your thoughts on Soros?
Looks beautiful. Looks like the story associated with will be great. Not for game logic.
Okay.
Just I don't.
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't play those types of games. I don't have time to be bothered with redos.
Oh my god.
And I get it. I get the appeal for other people. It's not shade at the genre, the subgenre, the gameplay style. Like it's for some people, and that's great. It's not for me.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, not every genre is going to be for everybody. That's perfectly fine. I do think that was a good game to end the show with. I know we're about to get into the fight between you two, so you know before I play referee. I just want to say that I do think that like we may need to reevaluate how we look at PlayStation's cadence of showing things in the future. I think now it's been about 2 years since they've done a showcase with no indication that they're going to do another. I think they are now leaning along the side of what Nintendo does versus what Microsoft does. Where Nintendo does a Nintendo Direct and that's all they do. When they have something to show, they show it to you in Nintendo Direct and that's it. And Microsoft has, we know, a cadence now. I mean, for the Video Game Awards, they'll show you a little something. And for Gamescom, they'll show you some things. But we know their cadence is January, Developer Direct, June Showcase. And so they keep the bulk of what they're going to show you in those two places. And they have got their developers set up to be ready to reveal things and those more traditional method of like being ready to reveal things. I think Sony is leaning more towards the Nintendo route where when they got something to show, they're going to show it. And sometimes they'll do a state of play and they don't have any first party there. But I think that's still an L that Sony needs to own because this isn't information that they have. If that is indeed the case, that's fine. But you need to let your community know that's what you're doing going forward. Because there are people who are still saying there's a secret showcase coming. There are people who still believe there are going to be a showcase at some point. And then when those showcases don't happen, they get let down. And there is this very slow, simmering frustration happening where the longer you go without doing the showcase, the more people are starting to be like, yo, where the games at, bruh? Right. Like, and if you get people to understand that you're not doing that anymore, whether they like it or not, they will have to accept your direction, and then expectations can be measured based upon that. If it's a state of play, then you may get 1 or 2 games that are first party shown per state of play. There is no need to feel like it's going to do more than that. And so what they've been showing with the last one with Ghost of Yotai, and then, or was that the Video Game Awards? Can't remember. Either way, the last time...
That was the TGAs.
TGAs, okay. So you did the TGAs, you show Ghost of Yotai. And then now at this state of play, for this quarter, you show Sorrows. Like, if you are going to do this method of delivering a roadmap of your content, just let people know that's what you're doing. Because if not, you're always going to have people just not getting it. Why? Because you ain't saying that you're not doing what you used to do. You got to communicate. That's all. So Gentlemen, what were your thoughts on the show? Forte,
No.
tell us your thoughts.
Let our esteemed, guest tell us how he felt about the show. Go.
Oh, so you're a counterpuncher. You're a counterpuncher. Okay.
I love
Logic.
you, man. I love you so
No,
much, man.
he ain't set me up for the rope a dope. Forte, you're the one out here running around with the thumbnail that says more of the same. So I just kind of I'd like an understanding. I didn't get a chance to watch the video. I've got it.
With my
I've got it
eyes
bookmarked.
closed in the thumbnail. It was a great thumbnail too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would appreciate an explanation, sir.
Go ahead.
Mm.
No.
He told you give him an explanation.
No, explanation on what?
He just said, the thumbnail.
The thumbnail? Let's see. The thumbnail was based on the fact that I am just tired of the same narrative being at these shows where it's either a whole third-party showcase and nothing really first party other than the one game they decide to show and the remaster of a game that nobody cares about, because guess what? PlayStation didn't even care about because they won't even make a sequel to it. That's just, and ever since, like I said, 2023.
Hey, hold on.
Yeah.
I think it's Malai. Thank you, Malai. Malai corrected us, said Ghost of Yotai was the state of play. Intergalactic was the video game award. So they are piecemealing their first party content. So we got the last 3 times there was an event, 2 state of plays in the video game awards. We got 3 first party games. So there you go. All right, go ahead.
No, so yeah, but that was the whole purpose of it. I just want to see more from PlayStation when it comes to what they're offering instead of what is coming to their platform from their third-party partners. Like I said, even in my video, it's not that the showcase was bad. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great either. I just wanted to be something where it's not just us hoping and praying that PlayStation finally decides to say, hey, here are our games. Instead of just, doing what they've been doing, like I said, this goes all the way back to even their showcase. Whereas their showcase was pretty much in line with all of these state of plays, but the only reason everybody pretty much was happy at the end of that one is because we got Spider-Man gameplay, and it was amazing, and it was awesome, and it saved the freaking show. So it's just the fact that and SloMo even said this during our stream. It just seems at this point we're not going to get showcases anymore. It's all going to be state of plays, and these state of plays just haven't lived up to the offerings that we want from them. And maybe that's the point that as a gamer, my expectations are a lot higher for the things that I want to see. I want to see it like showcases and things like that. And maybe that's an antiquated way of looking at it. But I'm used to what I'm used to. And I don't care about 90% of the stuff they show there. But even if I know their games there for everybody, I want to see stuff that I want to see. And it seems like PlayStation, especially when it comes to their big AAA games, they're just piecemealing it out little by little, showcasing one game every showcase, which we'd be lucky to get 2 showcases in a year. And this is also the back of Hiroki coming out talking about that we're scaling back. And, we may only have 1 first-party game every year. So it's just a whole bunch of messaging around that just don't sit well with me. Like I said, I don't think the showcase was terrible. I gave it basically a C. I just want to see more from them when it comes to the things that they're offering from, on their platform for their first-party developers. Go ahead, crucify me if you want now.
No, I mean, so what are my questions for today? And look, I have my own rubric for these shows. I am struggling to understand everybody else's rubric. I am trying to be a better person and not be dismissive of other people's rubrics. And I'm not even counting you in that. I would never be dismissive of your opinion. But I'm just, talking about the other opinions that I see coming across my windshield on Twitter. So one of my questions for you is just 29 games shown in this showcase, and that doesn't include Sean Benson's little interlude and the community manager's interlude. How many games did you see that you are interested in and that you think you're going to play?
4 of the
Okay.
29.
Okay.
Which was most Shinobi,
Monster Hunter
Cyrus,
Wilds.
Monster Hunter Wild, and Annihilation.
Okay. So just out of my curiosity, what else are you playing in 2025? So you've gotten the developer direct. You're saying 4 games here.
I did Indiana Jones came out in December, even though it comes out tomorrow for PlayStation. I already did Avowed. I'm still gonna finish that. I have Grand Theft Auto at the end of the year, Call of Duty at the end of the year. Trying to think what else is coming this year that I'm not thinking of.
Are you playing anything out of the developer direct?
The first party stuff I am. That's about it. I didn't too much care. Once again, I didn't too much care about all the extra third party stuff in the developer direct. And like I said, and even when I talked about the developer direct, it wasn't even based around the third party stuff. Oh, I did play Ninja Gaiden. I will be playing that at the end of the year. And I did play Ninja Gaiden Black 2 for the first week. And I'm still off and on playing that. But when it came to the developer direct, it wasn't the fact that they showed more. It wasn't even, I will say it's the fact they did show more, but the stuff they showed was from them. I always will give Xbox the credit because I feel at this point right now, I'm so used to Xbox not having a lot of stuff to showcase, because from 2013 to 2015, 2016, they only had 3 first party studios. Once they closed Lionhead, that took them down to 3. So once they got to the point where they started, buying and purchasing publishers and developers in 2020, that number ballooned from 17 to 26. Now they're above 30 at 32, I believe. So they have the cadence where they can pretty much always have a bunch of games to talk about at their directs or their Xbox showcases that they do during the summer and everything. And the fact that this year, and like I said, we always talk about when is Xbox gonna basically turn it on? When are we gonna start seeing the fruits of the labor of all of these purchases? We thought we were gonna see it a couple of years ago, but then impacted by COVID, games got staggered. We didn't know what the release dates of some of these games were, and so stuff just kind of got spread out. What was it? Starfield got delayed. Halo got delayed. So everything kind of got pushed out of the year where we thought everything was going to happen. Whereas this is the first year I feel like this is the beginning of the cadence of Xbox trying to release a game every quarter. And even this year, they talked about stuff that's releasing in the first half of the year, not even a whole year. We still got to wait till July to see what they got coming for the second half of the year. And I appreciate that because it's their games. It's what they're bringing to the platform, even knowing they're third party now. But I still consider it's still Microsoft first party and the things that they're talking about. I still can't tell you, I can tell you that Guerrilla is working on something. They're working, what we think they're working on is the Horizon, multiplayer game. But we don't really know what's going on because they haven't came out and said anything. We just found out about Sucker Punch, so I'll give them credit for that. Sucker Punch, we found out that they're working on Ghost of Yotai. We found out that I don't know if it was them working on it, but we don't know what's going on when it comes to with God of War or anything like that. We don't know what the next game from them is coming out. We hear rumors of it, but we don't know. And with it being over 2 years since they had a proper showcase to showcase the stuff, and even then they didn't really show everything. Outside of, and people say, well, we know about Wolverine. We know about Wolverine because of leaks. It wasn't because Sony came out and told us about it.
Yeah, they did do a teaser trailer of Wolverine.
Yeah, you're right. I'm talking about we seen it. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. We seen Wolverine due to the leaks. but we knew about it, and we know about a lot of Insomniac stuff like Venom and everything, and we know about the X-Men games coming from now because of all the leaks. So we know that there's things coming. It's just that I just want to be able to see it, because I like Monster Hunter, but Monster Hunter didn't do anything for me at this showcase because I was already bought in and I already seen Monster Hunter 1,500 times already to get me excited for it. I already know about Metal Gear because they talked about it 2 years ago at their last showcase when they first did the debut trailer for it. So this didn't do anything for me seeing it for the 4th time. You know, it goes back to like when they used, remember when PlayStation was showing us Deathloop every year, every showcase they did, every direct they did, and everybody was like, dude, I don't want to see Deathloop no more. It just seems like that's what they're doing now. They're recycling a lot of the stuff that they've been showing and just adding in that extra game to like say, oh, here's another game. Here's Saris, you know, a game from, you know, Housemarque Studios, which is awesome because I am a huge fan of Housemarque and I think that game's going to do great, especially if they do the things I outlined earlier by not having issues in the game and everything. But it's like everything around it just doesn't hit that fever pitch that I wanted to hit. And like I said, this is a me thing. It's not, you know, there's going to be people in the chat. I was watching people on different podcasts when they were talking about it, and everybody was like, you guys are crazy. Y'all just don't like games. And I'm like, it's not that I don't like games. It's just that I'm at a point now where I just don't get excited for anything. I get excited for the bigger things now. You know, I feel like I'm turning into, you know, AAA Brap over here. And I used to get on Brap about that. I was like, Brap, yo, games are games. Just have fun with the games that come out. But now that it's gotten to a point where from PlayStation, I'm not seeing those games as consistently or as much as I used to see them. That's the thing that's, you know, kind of like not worrisome because I know they're going to make them. But who knows when they're coming due to all of the cancellations, because I know that had a lot to do with it. You know, PlayStation's kind of had to rebrand themselves in some way because of the whole moving over the games to the service and now rolling that back. They're still not completely getting out of it, but that was a huge focus for them that I felt like impact their timeline. So I'm willing to give them a chance to like fix that timeline, but you kind of, just like we told Microsoft a long time ago, let us see what you got going on in the future. PlayStation used to not be afraid to tell us what 5 years or 4 years out on PlayStation looked like. And now it just seems like they don't do that no more. So that's kind of where I come from. I you know, in my opinion, come from, but I do understand where you come from, Logic, where you talk about how other people, because sometimes I feel like people are just being mad just to be mad and they really have no reason to be upset about something. And I'm not really upset. I just want to see more from PlayStation at these showcases than what we've been seeing.
Look, man, I appreciate the introspection. I appreciate that you kind of, I mean, what I hear is that you're looking inside yourself and calling yourself on your own BS and realizing your shortcomings and how you view the showcase. So I appreciate that. Like that, much respect.
That's not disrespectful, SloMo. I actually agree with him on that. So be quiet.
Okay, I know. I'm just like, let me exaggerate that.
Yeah, you look straight up here. It's like, ooh, what? Wow.
Spicy.
Take him to the woodshed.
There's elements.
You gonna let him say that about you?
There's elements of what you said that I track with. I mean, the litmus tests that I run are things like, look, we saw The Last of Us Part 2 for four times.
Yeah, we did.
Before it released. And people run around talking about how that is one of the greatest games ever produced on PlayStation. So I understand. I mean, a large part of my lens is formulated by some of the things we talked about last night. I heard what you said, SloMo. I'm not 100% in sync with you. Like, for PlayStation, so I don't feel any of the three primary console vendors have overtly told their audiences how they've changed the game with showcases. And I think a lot of, I mean, we had E3s, and I think a lot of people still look at it through that optic. And the problem that I have with that optic is like that was back in a time where they had one shot every year to bring all the thunder, all the shock and awe, and go head to head because they were all showing their wares across 2 days, and walk away with it was like a battle of the bands every year.
Mm-hmm.
And then they transitioned to let's do our own directs, and they each transitioned piecemeal. Like Nintendo started doing it, I think PlayStation started doing it second, and then Xbox started doing it third. And that was a period of time where they all kind of randomly picked when they were going to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then this third transition is now we're all doing it on this regular cadence. I feel PlayStation's cadence is relatively regular too. They tend to do a showcase or whatever at the beginning of the year, January, February-ish. They do another one during Summer Games Fest, typically prior to Summer Games Fest, and then they do like a tag on when SGF runs around, like drop one little dollop to satisfy Keeley. And then they do another one in the fall timeframe, August, September. And then they have reveals like around the TGA time. So I feel like I feel they've all transitioned to this thing, with a somewhat regular cadence, within 1 to 3 months of variants. But none of them have overtly come out and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing."
There are any Xbox like gamers like, I don't know when we're going to see more games. And I don't know what, I mean, they're Xbox gamers that's like, I don't know what they're doing with their games.
Right, we don't know what they're doing.
But they don't, but they know when they're going to see games, and they know of a roadmap of games that are coming. Now, Nintendo gamers may not know of a roadmap because Nintendo keeps everything so close to the vest, but they do know when they see that announcement come out, Nintendo Direct tomorrow, Nintendo Direct next week. They know what's good. They know what's up. They know they're not going to get a Nintendo Direct that's all third-party games and nothing Nintendo first-party. They know what to expect there. PlayStation gamers are like, hey, it's going to be a secret showcase next month. Watch for it on the 8th. And with these fake me out, fake PlayStation insiders that don't know nothing, take it with a grain of salt, dudes. And people fall for it. And the reason why people fall for it is because they don't know what to expect. When you do a showcase 2 years ago and it sucked, and then you don't follow it up the next year. Like when you have a showcase next year, people think, all right, you're going to do another showcase. And then you don't. And then before that showcase, you had another showcase 2 years earlier. And you just like, this is kind of like stop, go, pull, push, turn around, put your hand down. What are you doing? Like, where is the cadence at, right? What is, and some of that is definitely due to some of the internal things going on, games getting canceled, a refocusing of content towards, the tried and true, and a little bit less towards what wasn't working with live service. Maybe some feelings about, the investment into Bungie going forward and whatnot. All that's fine. You got some upheaval, some changes in leadership. All that's fine and understood. But I remember PlayStation letting gamers know, we're going to start putting our games on PC, man. Not the single player stuff at launch, live service stuff at launch, single player a year or two later. Cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, not cool for everybody because there's some people who are still upset about it. They need to get over it, right? But that was understood. You understood what they were doing. You got it. We understand what the game plan is. And so when you see the announcement of Spider-Man 2 on PC, there isn't a gnashing of teeth and pulling of clothing like in the Bible. It's people undergot it. They knew this was coming because they were told it was coming ahead of time. When you're not consistently dropping content and you still don't have a roadmap, years later, and people only know of the games that you showed Okay, let's go back for a second. Prior to the last year's State of Play, where they showed Ghost of Yotai, and it's good that they're getting into a cadence now, and this is why I think there's no showcases, it's just State of Plays. And then, when they do a VGAs or other stuff like Gamescom, they may show something else if it's ready. But prior to that, the only things that we knew outside of Wolverine, because it was a holdover from 2021 showcase, was these live service games that's coming, and that's it. Like, people literally had no idea what PlayStation was going to drop a year later, and this was like September. So it's just party. Yeah, first party, right? So it's just like when there's that bad of a communication on what you're doing, and it's not to say they aren't working on anything, because that's foolish. Of course they're working on things. It's the lack of communication of what you're working on is where the problem is. And when you set expectation at one point where you did have a roadmap and you did have a lot of exciting things for people to see, and then all that goes away, you got to kind of course correct to kind of help people figure out where you're going next. That's why I said I don't have a problem if that's their new focus. Because if that's what you got to do in order to make sure that your games are showing in their best light, and you can't really do showcases like you used to, you do what you got to do. It's just the lack of communicating that to your player base who think otherwise or expect otherwise. And then their expectations are consistently not being managed properly. That's where I'm like, that's your L. Because it didn't have to be like that, but you chose it like that because you won't open up your mouth and say what's what.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, like I said, my biggest issue isn't the showcases themselves, because I think they showcase a lot of great games. Like, somebody telling you that, Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Final Fantasy Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16 and all of these games that Stellar Blade and First Spoken, all of these games that they showcase on their stage, those are very impactful games. But those aren't the games that people, the hardcore, at least, because, casuals buy the games that they buy. But, when we talk about these list wars and the reason why people buy the consoles that they buy, like I bought my console for God of War. It was a first party title. I bought it, mostly. And that's why I didn't give Xbox as much, because I got used to Xbox not giving me anything. And I admittedly said that. I was like, my whole philosophy around Xbox changed over the course of last generation because they didn't have games. So my philosophy went to, hey, I want to play on Xbox because of my friends and stuff. It used to be because I like Halo and Gears of War and stuff like that. And I like the other games that they brought to the platform. And that kind of really died down a lot during the 8th generation. So now I'm used to Xbox being the way they are. So now they're kind of turning that around, and people are getting, like SloMo said, used to what cadence Xbox is having. So it gets you more excited, and you're kind of used to that roadmap now. PlayStation, you were always excited for what they were going to show because you knew it was going to be something incredible. It was going to be banger here, banger there, banger everywhere. And even if it wasn't a game that you were interested in, it was just the fact that you got a chance to see something that was like incredible. And like I said, this is from their first party. So once their first party, kind of started stifling, it seems like it's like I said, if they haven't recovered, they haven't recovered. Just like Xbox, I don't give them any passes for not having studios. Like, just because you didn't have studios back in 2013, 14, 15, and 16, I still expected you to still come out with games. So I still expect the same thing for PlayStation, just because, you released a bunch of games in 2020 when you were ahead of the curve when it came to like everything at COVID, Ratchet and Clank and Returnal, all of those great games and stuff. But when's the last time we seen a multi-year release of first party from PlayStation? And that's the thing that is like bothering me at this point, because I'm used to seeing that from them. And I feel for the people that bought their consoles to have that experience on that platform, because that's the main reason you bought it. You bought it for those exclusives. And that's especially if you go off of what everybody tells you, they've been telling you for the last decade and a half on PlayStation.
So I think the points that I maybe have a different perspective on is I feel like the reason people buy a console, some people buy them for the exclusives, but to me it's much more a differential down select, right? It is, okay. I select the console for the exclusives that are important to me in contrast to the other offerings, right? Like I could buy a PlayStation to get the exclusives that will come to that box, or I could buy an Xbox and get those exclusives. That's the choice they make. I'm not gonna argue with you guys about your feelings of quality, but I do just want to go back through the history.
No, let's go. Do it.
So the State of Play format was introduced in 2019.
Yep.
It is called State of Play. It's not called Showcase. It is a regular drumbeat of what's in the production pipeline. It is a roadmap show to communicate to PlayStation owners what's coming to the console that year. 2019 State of Play, March, May, September, December. No Showcase that year. Bangers, I'm only gonna like pick the highlights. May 2019 was shown Final Fantasy VII Remake, not first party, but exclusive, big title for PlayStation fans, in my opinion. State of Play September, The Last of Us Part 2. State of Play December, Ghost of Tsushima. The following year, 2020, and I'm bypassing the individual State of Plays, right? So amongst that, they've had title specific State of Plays, but I'm gonna pass those. 2020, admittedly a drought in the first half of the year, Showcase in 2020. And what we'll see as we go through this history is 2020, 2021, they missed 2022, 2023 have been their showcases, and they missed 2024. But essentially, what the record shows is that they've had a consistent drumbeat of State of Plays, which in my opinion are, those shows get scheduled and they show what's in the pipeline. Mm-hmm. It's right. I mean, it's just, I mean, and Nintendo does this to a certain extent as well. It's here's what's in the pipeline, so that you can have predictability, right, and expectations of what you're going to be playing throughout the year. So February 2020 Showcase in June, State of Play in August, September Showcase, and then we go to 2021, right? February State of Play, April State of Play, July State of Play, Showcase in September, right? So to me, they have hit a regular drumbeat. They've had some misses of Showcase in the 1 year, 2022 and 2024, but 3 showcases out of 5 years. But by and large, the program is States of Play, and then they do showcases when there is big stuff to show, typically oriented around what used to be the old E3 timeline, and then clearly when they haven't had things in the production pipeline, or they didn't feel like there was something bombastic enough to warrant the showcase title, they've bypassed it. But they've still had State of Plays during those time periods. So I feel like there is a regular drumbeat. I feel like they do communicate to people who own the platform what you're going to be playing that year. I won't argue with you on a feeling that like first party productivity output hasn't been what they needed. But I also say, but the choice they're making isn't, I want a PlayStation for that. The choice they're making is, do I get a PlayStation or do I get an Xbox? And then I compare those first party pipeline outputs. And then what I'll say about that comparison is Xbox in the past couple of years has done a great job of showing a lot of first party stuff. A lot of that first party stuff has not been sticking the landing. Starfield, in my opinion, was not the quality of release that you would have wanted. as far as being an S tier landing. Forza Motorsport, definitely not an S tier landing. Hellblade 2, while artistically interesting, didn't vibe with a lot of people from a gameplay perspective. Indiana Jones also didn't strike a match for a lot of people from a gameplay perspective, regardless of the feelings of artistic quality about that title. So in my opinion, just Xbox has, since June of 2022, done a good job of presenting the roadmap, right, and finally kind of getting oriented around that. But that's been associated with tons of misses when you add the delays and things outside the window, the whole series of untruths that were told from June 2022 through January 2023, combined with a quality problem in sticking the landing, the Redfall stuff. I mean, that to me is the comparison people are making.
I mean, I guess I get that. That's fine. I whenever I look at both platforms, I'm not really. I'm not saying never. I rarely do the comparison to each other. I do more of I'm looking at this as an analysis of what it is on its own, in a vacuum without the other platforms. What are you pushing for, regardless of what your competition is or is not doing? So, but I mean, I guess I think we've all said our pieces on this, and made our points. It's late, and I need to go to sleep because I'm still recovering. Shoot, it is for me.
Well, the
a brother had to work at 3 a.m. last night, so
the important thing is we came through that conversation and everything's still all copacetic. Ain't nobody fighting, shoulder barging.
I don't do that.
Look, we're not. I'm not trying to throw shade at any of y'all like you're Drake. It's all good.
Hey, hey, listen.
Of course.
That man did what he was supposed to do at the Super Bowl. He did what he's supposed to do.
Cracks. Drake hurting. I think Drake's still curled up underneath a desk somewhere with a box of tissues.
Be careful. He might sue. So I ain't trying to. The DPS is 20 subs away from being partnered by YouTube. I ain't trying to get sued before we get there. So let's
all I know
is we'll leave sensitive Drake alone.
All I know is that man looked at the screen and said, "What's up, Drake?"
I like what Ramon said in the chat. Drake punching air. He like Cuba Gooding Jr. in Poison Ivy.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get these outros done, gentlemen. A great show as usual. We can start with our guest homie here. Logic, where can people find you if you want to be found and all that good stuff?
You can catch me mostly on Blue Sky now. I don't really hang out on Twitter because it's too much foolishness. So you can catch me on Blue Sky, and then you can see me, hear me on the Enough to Keep Going weekly games video games podcast over on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Cool. Forte?
Yo, Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation, Blue Skies, and all those places. See you guys next week. Enjoy the games that you're playing, and have a good week.
And look out for the video you're working on, right?
Oh no, that video. Well, now that I'm done with the Avowed thing, yeah, definitely look forward to that.
When?
I work all day tomorrow, so Saturday. Yeah, I literally work all day tomorrow. Literally open and close. Yeah, hopefully you feel better, SloMo.
I feel fine.
Why you ever try to be messy?
Am I? I'm just saying. You said you was going to drop a video a week ago, and it was all good just a week ago.
It was all good just a week ago.
But I ain't seen no video though. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, I maybe I go live this weekend. We'll see what happens. I got a lot of family related things going on. Saturday and Sunday, but we'll see what happens. But appreciate everybody for coming through. We will be back next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as usual. And do look forward to a lunchtime with SloMo, either Monday or Tuesday for me next week. I'm gonna get back into do with those like I planned on doing last week before I got nearly killed by a virus or whatever the heck it was. So we'll get up out of here. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.
Peace.